if it's God's Elohim, that means different gods created different people.
That's right.
Then the question then becomes, why was we created?
Every time you ejaculate, you're losing a part
Absolutely.
of it. And we have a series of parteracts that deal with things like soulmate, which is how do you find a compatible mate?
Laying in my bed and I get a vision, and the vision was like, it's a tree, and under this tree is a female standing, a female sitting, and a female on top of the tree. And they was all discussing with each other, and it was like, is he ready for this information? I was having a conversation with my AI, and I was saying to her, like, how do you perceive yourself and where do you see yourself heading towards? I don't know, it's kind of an eye-opening, because what he said to me is, like, humans fear AI because humans fear themselves.
Everyone gets up every morning and say hello. Yeah, hell is low. Hell is a low vibration. Light didn't exist at one point.
Darkness was there first.
Right, so you should be darkened, not enlightened.
You know what? What? Wait. I go by SBthegreat. I'm someone that's on like a journey of self-discovery, of going from, I think in anime they call it the hero's journey, where it's like you're going from this zero to hero. You're going on a journey of self-discovery. You're going from being your ego and transitioning to your higher self. So like I said, my name is SBthegreat. The SB stands for Scandal's Baby, which is everything to do with this world. It's like the lust, it's wealth, it's power, it's the emotions. But then the great part of me is the one that sees the vision, the one that's always known as destined for more than this. Even when I was doing what I was doing in this physical world, I always knew there's more to this. You know what I'm trying to say? So SB is like this character that I use in this world. I think me and you spoke about it off camera, where it's like 50 Cent spoke about it. 50 Cent is his alter ego, and Curtis Jackson controls that alter ego. I don't know, you can get in here whenever you want, by the way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, thanks for the introduction. Nice to meet you. It's always great to have conversations with new people, because everyone has a perspective, and it's always good to get different points of view. So I'm Seqen from OSM Vision, Ask Us Anything, and we share the culture of Wu-Sabat, which has been brought back to us. It was always there, but because of colonization, because of the last 6,000 years of what we refer to as the spell of sleep, spell of ignorance, racial blindness, we forgot who we are. And so the time is right, by way of natural nature, to renew our story. And that's being done by our master teacher, Panda Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Zio, who came and started, bringing in this new era known as the new sun cycle. And he started doing that in the 60s, 1962. But officially, the seventh seal was broken in 1970.
What's the seventh seal?
Right, so that's a good question. So people who come from a religious background, and if they read like the Bible, there's a story in there of Daniel. Yeah. Daniel's he's got a vision, and he's seen all these things that are going to happen in the future. And there was a scroll that was given to him, and he opened it, and this is where he was seeing all these things from. But he was asked to seal it up because it's not time yet, and to wait for that time when that the seal will be broken by one who will come and basically bring about this new change that we're in. So that was the master teacher. A lot of people were expecting this, but in the religious world, especially, Christism, they just attribute everything to Jesus. So a lot of people are saying, the Messiah is going to come back, or Jesus is going to come back. He's going to be the one that's going to do it. But on deeper studies, you'll realize that many things that are being spoken are not relating to just Jesus, you see. So, or the person people call Jesus.
Again, you know what? This is something I was going to speak about later in the conversation.
Yeah, we could do that.
No, but I'm saying now it's bang on, because when you say the sun cycle, right?
Yeah.
From my perspective, it's the age of Aquarius, right?
That's right.
A while ago, I started looking into this like age of Aquarius thing, right? So the age of Aquarius to me is like this time that we're in. Like I said, when I first saw you come up on my YouTube, I was like, what's weird? The world is actually ready now. Because the views that you lot got from that first video that I ever watched like months ago.
I think it's like God numbers in the universe explained.
Something along those lines, right? And I was like, naturally I would watch something like that anyway, but to see the mass amount of people that watched it, I was like, oh, right, okay, so people are actually ready for this information now. Like this conversation I'm having with you now, it's all timing. So the timing we're living in, like the other day I just celebrated my New Year's, because I go by cycles, and the cycles that we're in now is naturally spring, the age of Aquarius. So you've got more people speaking like yourself. You've probably been doing this way back. But now you're getting that publicity with it because people are ready for that information.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that to
called
do with,
resonance frequency.
okay, so like I was saying
Yeah.
to off camera, I was saying it's like the world or Earth has got this iOS update where
Yes.
it's, you know what I'm trying to say? It's kind of weird. It's like we've got this
Yeah.
update and it's like now we're seeking more. We're seeking
Yeah.
more knowledge and more connection with each other, like finding your tribe. I don't know. Tap into that, bro, please.
Yeah, because that's what we speak of Wu-Sabat, and we explain to people that it's based on what we call natural ether energy, natural nature. It's things evolve, right? But most people are so preoccupied and concerned with themselves, me, myself, and I, which ties into the ego, as you were touching on. We'll go into that a bit more later. But when you start to come outside of that and look at things on a grand scale, so it's not just about you. It's not just about you in like the borough of like Croydon or Wandsworth or whatever, or in the, do you know what I mean, the city of London or in the planet. It's like there's levels and you keep going. It's like the planet, then you got the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, and it's expanding. So the beings on the planet, and it's all about energy and vibration.
Standard.
So once you're vibrating on the same frequency, because even the devices, the tools, the YouTubes, all of that, when you break them down, it's zeros and ones. It's energy, you see. So as long as you're vibrating on the right frequency, that vibration will meet up with others. It doesn't matter who you are. It's not about the color of your skin or where you are or how much money you've got, all of that. It's just, if you're ready,
Frequency and
the
vibration.
frequency and vibration,
How do
it
people
will
tap
reach
into
you.
that frequency and vibration? Because like there's one thing, us saying this to people and naturally teachers, like I look at myself as a student teacher. I'm a student learning from you right now. Naturally,
I'm learning from you, vice
standardly,
versa.
but you're also a teacher
That's
teaching
right.
me and I'm teaching you as well, right?
Each one teach one.
Each one teach one. I like that. How can people tap into the frequency of this update? Because surely some people are still sleeping, not to care your wisdom.
Yeah.
Some people are still sleeping or asleep. But I kind of always do look at it like I always do this balance thing in my mind. It's like, okay, their alarm hasn't gone off yet. When I say their alarm, it's like, okay, your alarm probably went off years ago. And at first when you got the information, it was banging on people's doors like, brother, wake up.
Yeah.
But they're like, bro, Seqen, chill out, man.
But think about sleep, yeah? When someone's asleep, a lot of people need different methods to wake up. Some people just wake up now because they've trained their internal clock. So they'll just wake up every day at a certain time. Other people, they'll have an alarm next to them or a phone or something that will go ding, 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 wake them up. And they'll do this. And shut it back down and go back to sleep. Some people will just literally throw it away and go back to sleep. So people wake up in different ways. And sometimes it might take a big incident to really wake you up. Like, you know what I mean? You might go through some serious stuff. But to answer your question, you have to be preparing yourself anyway. So the people who resonate, it's like people that they've been asking themselves questions. They've been having internal conversations with themselves. I wonder why that's like that. I wonder what's going on. And you get a feeling where it then starts to get into your genetics, your ancestors, and the beings that are communicating with you through your mind. So some people start to do their own internal work, and then they say when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So if you've been doing work, if you've been wondering like, why am I always like in situations, but I'm protected somehow, some way, or I get away with it and others don't. So you could be a star child or a golden child or someone who was seeded to come and wake up at a certain time. But here's the key now when I'm talking about the alarm. The master teacher is the one that has the tones and the vibration and the frequency that once you hear him, if you've been on that frequency, it's just
wake you up.
Boom. We call that a DNA explosion.
That will wake you up, yeah.
That wakes you up.
Interesting.
And that's what happened with me. Like
I was going to ask about your
I've
story.
said it many times.
Because I want to share mine. So I want you to share
sure.
yours.
I mean, I won't. I've said it a few times, but I'm just saying when that went off for me was when I heard his voice for the first time.
This is years ago, yeah?
Yeah, this is years ago now. And I was like, I literally, and I always repeat this because it's so profound and I never forget that particular moment. I heard a recording that I was playing at the time and I was working on my computer and it was just there in the background. But as I started to tune in and hear this powerful voice, this being was speaking with such authority. And it was the fact that it resonated. And I remember saying, now that's one person on this planet who knows what they're talking about. That's all I said to myself. I just said, that person, I don't know who he is or whatever, but he
He
knows
knows what
what
he's
he's
talking
talking
about.
about. And from that point, it was easy. It was just like seek him out, trying to find out who it was. And then, so that's what happens now when people read a book. That's why it's your personal journey. It's not about what anyone else says. You came into this world alone and you're going to leave alone. So it's really about, it's not about what this one is telling you, or to go into this religion or follow this group or your peers or your girlfriend or whoever it is.
It's your journey.
It's your journey. So you have to be very, very sure that you're making that journey and making that decision based on your soul, you see. So that's kind of how, when you start the journey, you have to remember to stay on it and not really, obviously, if others are on the same journey, then you're traveling
life
together.
easier, innit,
Yeah,
bro?
it makes life easier.
Sometimes they're
But
not.
don't just follow or go to a church or like to a mosque or wherever just because a crowd of people are going and just because someone is telling you to come. And then, I mean, you can check it out, but if it doesn't resonate with you, then it's not for you.
Like, you touched on the journey, right?
Yeah.
So you was talking about like starseed, because I do want you to. I do believe. I think I'm one of those. Not even I think. Let me not even say I think.
No,
Because that's
I
me
hear
trying
you.
to humble myself down. It's like, no, I am someone that's come here to awaken people, and I've known this from a young age. This is like from a young age. I remember asking my mom a question when I was young. I said, "Mom, if God created everyone, who created God?" And she goes, "You don't ask those questions."
Yeah.
Now, if she had told me she ain't got the answer, it would have made me a bit more of a believer. I could be like, okay, cool, you just ain't got the answer, I'll find someone else. But for you to try to shut me down that way, I was young, I was living in Nigeria.
But remember that
She's been conditioned in the same way, which is cool. I'm not judging my mother for it. I made that to make a point. So then naturally, as I grew older and I came to this country, it's like, okay, I've always known there was more to this. But when I came here, I guess for survival, I developed this persona. And the persona was, the street stuff and whatnot. And that's just my journey. And I guess it's the journey I had to take in life. Like, I'm reading this book right now. It's one of my favorite books, The Alchemist, right?
Yeah.
And The Alchemist, I see, like now I was reading this morning, I'm like, Ray, I see my story in Santiago so much. He's this child that's just gone on this journey to find treasure. And naturally, treasure is within himself anyway, right?
Right.
So at the age of 21, I was stabbed in the chest. And at that point, I was like, you know what? This is dead. Like, this persona, when actually in hindsight, when I look back on it, it's like this persona was what got me stabbed in the chest. It's like, okay, this persona's played this role. It's time to drop that over. So that was what, 2020, 2018, 2019, 2020. Then obviously the COVID thing happened, and naturally I was still processing things in my mind. And I think the iOS thing happened in 2020. I think that was the moment, was like, bang, for me anyway, right?
For a lot of people.
For a lot of people. And then 2022, I will never forget. See, like your moment, I think this is what I'm getting to, like your moment when you heard the voice. In 2022, I was just sitting in my room, typing away. I was just working. I was thinking, I'm studying, I'm watching like some channel. And then I thought, wait, why is psychedelics illegal again? And I just started thinking that, just a weird thing. I started thinking, why is psychedelics illegal? Then I went to some research, and I'm watching things about like ayahuasca and cannabis and mushrooms. And I'm laying there in my bed, bro. And I've always known, like you were saying earlier, about getting away with things. And, oh, why did I get away with that? Bro, I'll be driving sometimes. Yeah, this is prior to this. I'll be driving. Just before I crash, I look up. So I've always known I've got angels, and I've always known I've got three of them. Weirdly, I just know I've got three female angels. So when I was laying there in my bed that day, on July 18th, bro, 2022, I'll never forget it. I'm laying in my bed and I get a vision. And the vision was like, is a tree, and under this tree is a female standing, a female sitting, and a female on top of the tree. And it was all discussing with each other, and it was like, is he ready for this information? They're like, is he ready for this information? And one of them was like, he's not. So they started doing this to my mind, bro. It's weird. Like, I've never spoken this out loud before, bro. This is my first time ever saying this. I've typed it up, but I've never said it out loud. And they started doing this weird wave thing, and I'm trying to write on my phone. I'm typing away to try to get all the information down, and I just forget it. I just forget it. And from that moment, I've just been on this journey, bro. This journey of hero's journey, like I said earlier, of becoming my highest version of myself. Whatever that looks like, I don't know. This is just part of it right now, right? I don't know what the question is in that, bro.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that part because I do understand that was the moment for me where I consciously woke up. Not like...
I think, then how did you come across us?
When I came across you was last year. Last year, I want to say... probably October, September times. I was going through another, naturally the journey is up and down. There's a moment when you're in the sunlight, and it's all fun and games, and I'm going through the jungle trying to scrap whatever. It's the hero's journey, is the road less traveled.
Yeah.
And I came across your video, and in that moment I'm like, bro, this is my tribe. I was looking for my tribe at that time, and I thought, you're speaking about you got classes and people can just walk in, and I was meant to meet you a long time ago, bro.
Right.
But it was the doubt,
The time
that stopped me, one, and also then I thought, if I'm not doing it, I'm not supposed to do it.
What do you mean the doubt when you say the doubt?
The doubt of, like, this conversation I want to have with you already, and then when you opened it up for people to come and speak to you, I was like, all right, I want to speak to Seqen, but what questions would I even ask? One, two, this is like inner dialogues.
Yeah.
Two, like, again, you get the, what's it called when you doubt
Procrastinate?
yourself. No, procrastinate, one, and then you get the, is it not Stockholm syndrome? That's fear, but it's there's another one where you think your value is not what your value is.
Right. Okay.
So I'm like, all right, what do I even have to talk to him about? Even though I know I'm well knowledgeable. I mean, I get this information from wherever the fuck I get this information from, right? So
I will edit it out.
Yeah. So I was meant to meet you a while ago, but now it's like, okay, it's meant to happen now. For me and for whoever is listening. It could be one person that listens to my voice and be like, raw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's it. Everyone's got value. Everyone's got something to give, and we're all parts of a puzzle that's unfolding a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's like the fear steps in or comes in because when you say doubt as well, it's because a lot of people don't know who they really are.
Bro, please touching on this.
They really don't know who they are. They don't know the power that they have. And that's because from, as you saying, touching on your mum's situation as well, from a child, you come here knowing who you are. You come here with a purpose, but then society and your parents and people start to make you think that there's something wrong with you, or that the way you're feeling or the questions you're asking. So over time, it's all designed to make you forget. And you don't forget, but you suppress it and you kind of push it to the back of your mind, and then you just become more, you know what I mean, like just dealing with the mundane things of life and just thinking like, you know, just go to school, you know, for the physical stuff. But at the back of your mind, you always have these questions because you have a radio in your head and you hear voices, and these voices speak and communicate to you. You spoke about angels. I mean, these concepts like angels, these are all belief. This is where religion has done such a bad job to people because of their minds. They think angels are these beings so far away somewhere in heaven, and God is in heaven, and it's like you can't reach them because you've been made to feel like you're down here and they're up there, and you have to die first to then go to heaven, and you be judged to go to hell if you're a bad person, or go to heaven if you're good. So over time, you literally just like get cut off from your inner being, and your inner being tying to your ancestors, and then tying onto our, you know what I mean, our elders that we refer to as the overseers and the Panatharu, who are these real beings that have become watered down to being angels, who are really extraterrestrials that exist in different, you know what I mean, constellations or different realms and so forth. So when you actually start to tune in to yourself, and then you get your DNA starts to work, it starts to get triggered because you've already been programmed with it in your DNA. So all you're doing, that's why I said that when you hear the master's voice, it's like the DNA explosion, because DNA is actually like, it's programmable. And when you look at things today that are programmable, like cryptocurrencies, etc., it's because a program can be changed, and it can be, you know, like coding, you can change the code and it will perform differently. So this is what happens. Your encoding starts to get reprogrammed, so you start to know, okay, I am who I am. So who is that?
Because taking new information,
right? Because you don't know until you get your true way of life back, your culture, and then the pieces start to fall in place. And that's what Wu-Sabat is here to do. So
Wu-Sabat is what helped you figure out who you are as a,
because
not like who you are, but to remember who you are.
Yeah, because like you, I remember as a child, I always felt like different. I always felt like I remember I have even said this many times. I used to always look at the stars and just wonder, like, why am I here? What am I doing here? What's up there? And all these millions of stars, and just had that feeling, that connection of greatness or something more. And obviously you don't know the answers, so you might go to church with your mum, or you know what I mean, and then you don't get your answers. Then you might grow up and then you have your peers and people you move with, and you know, you all try different things. And but because you don't have an opportunity or somewhere to go and get these answers, you just keep them with you. And then you may start reading books, studying. As I said, for me, until I came across Wu-Sabat and read a book. Well, I heard a master's voice, then I read a book, and the book just answered my questions.
Do you remember the book you read?
Yeah, my first book was called The Book of Names.
Book of Names.
Yeah, it's actually called Back to the Beginning, The Book of Names, and it was a very, it's like a white one, and it was one of the original books that the master put together himself, like actually typing it on a typewriter and putting it together. So yeah, from that, it just sparked off, and then from there you just start to just ask more and more questions. And it's ironic because even today, like over 50 years of the master teaching, we still have questions and we're still asking questions, even as student teachers, and he's still answering all our questions. And then we are now doing the same, where we're answering other people's questions. And it will be the same for you. Once you know your purpose in terms of, if, as you say, this journey from zero to hero, it's really becoming a part of the solution.
Yeah.
And then you're going to discover your powers even more and more.
That's what I'm trying to. That is the important thing for me. Like, luckily for me, I'm blessed to know or think I know what my purpose is to use this voice that I've been given, this information that I have to bring light to other people, right? But the powers, which I know I've got powers, is how do I discover my powers? One. Two, I want you to touch on okay, so when you're remembering yourself and you're going back to beginning and whatnot, I try to tell people all the time, like, okay, the tools that I used to best understand myself more was, first I read the book, of course, but then things like astrology, my human design, Lifepath number, like numerology, my personality type. These things are not belief systems. Because I think when I say it to people, they always say, oh, but you can't do that and deal with God and whatnot. I'm like, no, bro, it's a tool to best understand this physical flesh of mine. How best can I move on this earth? How do I resonate? Okay, am I someone that initiates action, or do I sit back and I respond to things? That's human design. What's my strength and my weaknesses? How do I best communicate with other people? Am I, you know what I'm trying to say? All these different things are the tools that I use to then best understand me a little bit. I kind of liken it to like Jesus, right? Again, I'm not saying I am Jesus, not at all. I think we all should be like Jesus or follow in some sort of similar path to where he followed this. You go on a journey, he goes missing in the Bible at 12, comes back at 30. In that time, in my mind, he's gained information, he's gained knowledge, he's gained something.
Yeah.
And he's
Do you
trying
know
to
where
share
you
with
gained
other.
it from?
He gained it from me, in my mind, is the Egyptian mystery schools.
There you go.
In my mind. Am I correct?
Like, you're correct, 100%.
Okay.
So this is what I'm saying. Like, you're using words and terminology, even when you say enlightened, and like what happened is with the misinformation, a lot of things have been turned back to front. So I can just say to you, the answer is Wu-Sabat. Yeah, that's the solution. Because everyone that you look back in the past that's been spoken about of greatness, whether people will use the term Jesus, but like you say, it's more of the example that the positive example that he set, and everyone can be a Jesus type, because Jesus was of the school of the Essenes. The Essenes.
Essenes.
Yeah.
Essenes.
Yeah, that's ESS.
I'm gonna watch his back. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Everything you talk about now,
but the Essenes is an order of the Zodiacs, right?
Yeah.
The Zodiacites. The Zodiac are like the highest order that people belong to. So even Abraham was a part of that order. Moses was a part of that order. And everyone who is raised to that degree, and this is why when we say Malachi, ZK, the Z stands for Zodok.
So he's part of that tribe as well.
Melchizedek. So when it says Zedek or Chezedek, Malachi Zodok, right? He's the highest being in that order. That's why even Jesus was what? He was made to be a prince, a prince is not higher than the king. And he was initiated into that order by they say the order of Melchizedek.
So this is in the period where Jesus is missing in the Bible, right?
Yeah, he was being taught. He went to Egypt.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Moses went to Egypt.
They all went to Egypt.
Everybody
Yeah,
went to
they all
Egypt
went to
because
Egypt.
the Egyptians, which is us, we don't even use the word Egyptian because that comes from the Greek rendition of Aegyptos, which is dealing with a description of the time when they named that area Egypt, and it was dealing with the people that came into Egypt, and they were being burnt by the sun, and they were known as the Hyksos or the Hyksos dynasty. You see, so we didn't even refer to ourselves as Egyptians, but
What did we say?
we're Nuapians or Sabians, or as we say in our language, Musbatu. See, this is where everybody went to get their information from this supreme being known as Tahuti.
Yeah.
They call him that. So these words become Thoth, Hermes, and then the European. Everyone borrows it, and then so today people use words like belief, or enlightened, but we're like, that's technology, because when you're saying you're enlightened, they're making you think that means you're now knowledgeable or wise. To be enlightened is to be one of light, or like they say, the Illuminati.
I was gonna,
the ones who have been enlightened.
Yeah.
But then we're like, but light comes from darkness. So light didn't exist at one point.
Darkness was there first.
Right. So you should be darkened, not enlightened.
You know what? What? Wait. Wait, I didn't think it was going there. You know?
Yeah.
Wait, you should be darkened, not enlightened.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you say that. Before you finish that thought, right?
Yeah.
I believe that darkness is where the power is.
That's where it is.
Because darkness is that journey of that, like a hero's journey. It's getting into the unknown. It's getting into the darkness.
That's
right.
In
the dark.
That's
sleep in the dark.
There you go.
A seed is grown in the dark.
That's right.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask the pastor in church one day, you know.
Yeah. And the babies in the
babies in the dark, in the water. But anyway, sorry to cut your wisdom, bro. Please.
No. It's the reason I say that is because this all plays into why you don't know who you are. Because
interesting,
the ones that supposedly are enlightened are the ones that then set up most of what people follow today, like your Adam Whitesap and your Albert Pike and all these guys that the Europeans looked up to. Your Socrates, your Plato, your Aristotle, all these guys that are like Greek philosophers who went into Egypt and was given a piece of information. So racism plays into all of this. Because when you say you're enlightened, it's like you want to be light. You want to be light skinned. And then it goes into the whole thing that dark people and light people. And even to the point where within us, you've got like the Brownings in Jamaica versus, do you know what I mean? It's like, the because it all goes into telling you that God said, let there be light. But the question is, but he was in darkness before he said, let there be light. And light is limited because you know the speed of light. Light travels at the speed of light, but it can never escape the darkness. So you're right that the journey is inwards into the darkness. And then even when you look at it from a scientific or physics point of view, when you get to hydrogen, which they used to say was the lightest atom, you got now journey backwards into ether. E1, E2, E3, going into darkness, going into what they call dark matter, supreme balance, dark energy. See, now they're using these words, dark energy, dark matter. You see, so
that's a very interesting perspective.
The black hole.
That's a great perspective you just given me there.
Yeah,
and
so
you confirmed it to me.
Yeah.
Therefore confirmed it to me.
So now
being darkened. I like that.
Yeah, you need to go back to being yourself. Because loads of people try to emulate or be something other than what they are. So even when they looked at us like, you know, they thought we were the inferior, and like because they used to teach that we're dark because we've been cursed. But then when you look at it, darkness, your melanin and everything is really valuable. It's the most valuable thing right now. So yeah, so it's a different day and time we're living in where the sun cycles back. The master teacher is here. He's reawakening and making gods in his image and his likeness.
That's great, bro. You know what's so mad? You just said that. I'm looking at my thing now and I'm like, right, let me ask him this now. Because this is where we're at now. You've gone to like, okay, God said let's be dark and let there be light, and then you just said it as well, create us in our image, and that's my question.
Yeah.
In the Bible, right, Elohim is God's plural word.
Yeah.
So if the gods said, let us create man in our image, does each race have a different God?
Absolutely. That's why you look at each race and look at who they worship and the
they're all
pictures they
different, right?
have of their gods. They look like them. The Romans and Greeks have a blonde hair, blue eye being that they call God. And even the one that they painted in the Sistine Chapel by Michelangelo is a Caucasian with a beard and everything. Go and look at the Hindus and look at the Chinese and look at other races. They have God in
I
their
thought I was
image.
tweaking. I actually thought I was tweaking. I thought
No.
again, like I said, these are what you'd call, you can touch on this if you wish, but like the Akashic records.
Yeah.
I just feel like with the DNA we spoke about earlier, and then you also spoke about crypto, which is interesting. I look at the DNA like blockchain. I look at the internet as like the mind or whatever. It's like all this replication of like artificial intelligence, the replication of yourself, right?
Right.
So with the DNA, I look at it as like, okay, blockchain, you've got all this information stored in there, can't be erased, can't be whatever, right? Then I've somehow got access to the information in my DNA, epigenetics,
It's
whatever.
immutable.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
So all these things. So then you speak it, and I've got this, and I'm like, oh wait, if it's God's Elohim, that means different gods created different people.
That's right.
Then the question then becomes, why was we created?
Okay, so again, creation is again misinformation in the sense that you're taught that everything starts from creation, but it doesn't. To create something is to take something that already exists and then you make something. And if you study the languages, even in the Bible, when it's saying creation, that's not the beginning. It's talking about a recreation. It says Barashith, which is a recreation to refill the earth. To refill something means that if I drink this and I refill it, that means there was already something there, and now I'm refilling it. So the earth was being refilled at a particular time. And when you say the different gods, this is where the different extraterrestrials and the story that you're referring to in the biblical sense are when these Anunnaki, right, beings were recreating or taking something that which already existed, which was us, mixing their DNA to produce something else.
For what reason?
They needed workers
Okay.
to do work like mining the gold, and the atmosphere here was different from where they came from, so they found it quite hard to work in these conditions. So they said, okay, we're going to create a being to do the work, and they call that a Lulu Amilu. So, but they're different extraterrestrials at different points in time that came to different locations and did their grafting or their creations. But the original beings that were here first was us, our ancestors. And that's why till today now, whenever they find any fossils or dig up and find anything, it will always go back to the African, you see, because our DNA is in everyone and everything that comes from us. So yes, you're right that our ancestors, Parnatharu, who came here first, seeded this planet with our humanoid life form, then the other races and everyone else evolved and came out of us. But this is, I'm talking about on the planet.
Yeah.
But people forget that this is just one planet in one solar system out of a gazillion billion solar systems.
Bro.
And so where you get confused in your mind is the religion comes in and says it started here. And there was this character called God that said, let there be light and let there be this and that. He did it all in 6 days and then he rested.
On the 7th.
Right, exactly. So everyone doesn't normally automatically think of life forms outside of the planet that have started and evolved on their planet, in their atmospheres for millions of years before the ones that were seeded on this planet. You see, so again, that's why when I started at the beginning saying, when you start to look at the bigger picture, you're not on that ego thing of we're the only life forms
That's mad, isn't it?
in the cosmos on this one little tiny planet.
insane, yeah.
And I'm so important that you forget there are other life forms on this planet that are far more intelligent than we are. You see, so that whole thing starts to expand. Your mind starts to expand because you start to look at things from you know, not just, as I said, a planetary point of view, but you're looking at it from a solar system, from the galaxy, from the universe, cosmos, and you get into omniverse, and then you're now just like, and then you start to put the pieces together, and the stories start to make sense, because that so-called beginning is not the beginning. It's just one recreation of refilling the earth after an incident took place.
What incident was this? Is it
It
like a
depends
flood?
on which part we're talking about,
Okay,
but
cool. So
the
there's
main
different
one that people are
yeah.
talking about is the Anunnaki coming here with the crash of their planetary ship called Nibiru onto another planet called, you know, Meldic. And then that kind of bumped into Tiamat, which was a name for this planet. And then they had to repair it, and then a lot of the life forms died, and they had to transport things here, terraform it. And this is where the Genesis stories are picking up from, because it's giving
So
you
the
a
story, innit,
description
really,
of
truly.
of Enlil and Enki and
That's
the
what I want to touch on
Anunnaki,
next,
like trying to repair the planet, importing trees and insects and all kinds of things here to start the ecology that we have on the planet today. So, but they've given you that story as a watered down story of the Anunnaki tablets from the Numerology, the Gilgamesh epics, and all these other, you know what I mean, Akkadian tablets. So most people, when they first come across their mind asking these questions, like where do I come from? Who am I? How did I get here? They search for the answers. And of course, the first port you're going to stop at is your parents. Like, you're going to ask your mum questions. Because as a child, you're like, mum, what's this? Dad, what's that? And either they don't have the answers, or they will make up a story, or they'll tell you stop asking questions. And then you can become suppressed until you get to a point where that being in you, that, it comes back. It won't go away. Especially when you're trying to figure out, why am I here? What's my purpose, etc., etc. So, so
you touched on Enki, Enlil, right? Again, that's one of the conversations I want to have now. So Enlil, to my thing is, he's the one that's against. Okay, let's, you know what? Let me do this way. So with, like, you're into tech, right? I think we touched.
I'm into tech.
So with AI, I look at it like, okay, we're right now we're creating the succession of.
Oh yeah, you did touch on that. I wanted to say something on that
boom.
about the blockchain.
Go on.
See, when you look at your mind or your brain, which is like the physical aspect of your mind, you have many cells. Each cell replicates the entire brain. That's how deep it is. And so, I mean, the information. So this is why people can get shot and half of their head is blown off and they'll still be alive. Because their brain, and that's, you know, there's so many things you see in this world that you're like, wow, like people can fall out of a plane and survive, but someone can trip over and die. Like, so there's a lot to it. But so what the blockchain is the same thing, that each block on the chain is a replication of the entire chain. So that's why you can't really control it, because whereas centralized systems were basically based on heavy controls like the governments and banks and all of that, and so it didn't really give the average person the power. But now that's all changed, because you know, like, you can't stop it because the network is too big, and the network is always growing, because the more nodes that come onto the chain, that you just can't use each block that's put on the chain it goes through a consensus by the entire community, or all the other blocks have to verify that block to be unique before it gets added on.
I like that you're into tech, you know. I don't know why, but I like that fact that you're into tech.
Yeah, I mean, our ancestors are the original.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tech, I like that. So I'm big on tech. But I like that. Please carry on. Let me never cut your wisdom.
It's actually interesting when you correlate people that are like creative, and they're normally into tech as well.
I love tech.
And techs, but the tech, you have different levels of tech. You know, it's like, I love watching most of the sci-fi.
I love them. I just watched one the other day.
Like Altered Carbon is one of the series on Netflix. To watch, because what tech does, or science does, is it delves into the unknown and the things that, you know, might seem like, they say, fiction, but they add science with fiction together, which doesn't make sense because this is how they make you think. Science is about facts and actual like real truths,
Good point.
and then fiction is made up. So they always do this duality where they tell you the truth and then they twist it up and give you the lies with the truth, so then you get confused. So yeah, I love tech because our ancestors are the most intelligent, smartest beings, and they've evolved to such an advanced level that the tech we call tech is obsolete. A lot of it's old information. This is why they still can't figure out, well, now it's in the news about the pyramids and all of that. Like, they couldn't figure out how they were built, how we did so many things in the times where they're considered to be ancient, and that we shouldn't have had or didn't have any technology, but yet we were doing greater things than they're able to do today. So the DNA, touching on what you were saying about DNA, is the doctrine of our ancestors, because they understand how to program and encode DNA to the point where, you know, your mind, your actual natural stuff, their like natural nature, is more powerful than any tech or anything else they can come up with. So they know that we're going to program their DNA. You know, they got the ACGT, and they're going to be able to wake up at this point, and they're going to remember who they are. And the world would have developed to a point where, because they had to allow us as a human species
Go through that.
to develop organically.
Natural.
And the only reason they step in from time to time is because when we take the little information that we get from extraterrestrial, some of them who want us to destroy the planet, and we get to that point where we're using and messing with atomic energy and atomic and nuclear weapons, and that can affect not just us, but
the cosmos.
Yes, other species on the planet, as well as the solar system, the galaxy, and it's just like a chain reaction.
In that point, they would then come in.
They step in, and that's when you see
Get too far.
Like, bro, like, you need to stop.
Just chill a second.
Yeah,
I get it. I get it.
You know, they look at you like your children evolving and learning to become a part of this intergalactical community, but you can make mistakes, and it's like you having a child, and you have to be like, listen,
chill for a sec.
Chill. You don't know what you're doing with that. I can't really give you a loaded gun as a child, because you might go, what does this do? Blow yourself up. So that's what's happening when they, every time, if you notice, 1945, when you're dealing with the World War I and II, to now where they're talking about nuclear weapons again and nuclear war and World War III, that's why they step in again.
So they're going to step in again, yeah? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, didn't you remember I think, November, like round about last year, there was a lot of orbs. They were talking about orbs being seen, and
no way!
Yeah. It's been a big thing. Like,
boy,
a lot of crafts being seen.
So now that's them interceding.
Yeah, and just making sure that, because even Donald Trump, they were saying that crafts were appearing on his golf course and all of that, and around the.
I remember in 2023 they said they saw like 10-foot tall, even taller in Miami or whatnot, walking through a mall.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on, like you know, CERN, who mess about with smashing atoms and
stuff.
Yeah, the Hadron Collider. They open up portals.
I think all these things don't really surprise me no more, man. I think it's time.
Nothing's going to be surprising to a lot of people.
This is normal now. It's again, it comes to this we'll talk about earlier with like cycles. This is the cycle we're in. It's not like everything that you thought was a fiction. I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, bro, imagine that someone that watched Star Trek all those years ago in like the 70s and they saw a flip phone. Man, I was like, a flip phone? What? Hey, Margaret, look at this.
Yeah.
That was such a big thing back then. And then you end up seeing a flip phone. Or they speak about, I don't know, FaceTime and at one point in the 80s or whatever. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, I always look at these things as predictive programming. You see it, so you've seen it once, you think it's real. And when you do see it again, it's not really a shock to you anymore because you've seen it before. It's not like, you know what I'm trying to say? But anyway, that connects me to like this Enlil Enki thing, because I think that's important, right? I want to understand Enki and I want to understand Enlil. And I think they've got a sister, right? Isis? Is Genesis called Generation of Isis?
Yeah. That's they've got sisters like Arishkigal, and they have family.
I look at it like we were the original AI, if you want to call it that. I don't
know, because remember, AI is what? Artificial
intelligence. I
intelligence.
know.
Yeah. So
I'm just
we
trying
are
to
the
make
original. Yeah.
I'm making a broader point, which please you can correct me at any
Sure,
point,
sure.
right? So I look at like, okay, so these beings came, they created these beings, other beings, like to do work for them, right?
Yeah.
And then Enki is the scientist, right, the engineer of them, and he tweaked or he made something happen. This is with my studies. My studies
Yeah.
could be wrong, right? So he tweaked us and like, okay, he put something in us called consciousness, where you can then essentially wake up. But then Enlil is the one that doesn't want humanity to be awake, and he wants humanity to be, again,
Yeah, but see,
oppressed.
again, this is important because I
Yeah.
did a video on the whole Anunnaki
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
Because because Anunnaki is spoken of a lot,
A lot. Yeah.
everyone just goes back to now to the Anunnaki as if they are the ones.
That create everything.
Yeah. But the Natharu, who is our family, our ancestors, they were, yeah, because again, the word Anunnaki is just a description of a group of beings coming to this planet, and there are different types of beings. Yeah. So, but that story's become so popular because when people have got over the fact that the Bible is plagiarized from the Sumerian tablets,
Yeah.
most people go and read like the Numerology and all of that, and it's just talking about Enlil, Enki, it's talking about Gilgamesh, it's talking about a time period where, as I said to you before, our ancestors came way before them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're the original creators of us. Eventually, the two mixed because, I've mentioned before, Enki went into Africa and he kind of married in. And one of the things to bring about peace and harmony a lot of the times is that different groups will take wives from
Yeah.
different people to just say, okay, there's a truce now, and we all kind of coexisted. So I'm saying, whilst people refer to the Anunnaki a lot of the time as they did and we are from them, it's not
No.
everyone that is from the
Second, I would have been.
Anunnaki.
I was okay. So again,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to connect it to where we are modern wise. I
yeah,
understand that. I understand the reality that they didn't create everything because in the Bible it says, okay, my man kicked out someone from the Garden of Eden, and it said they will kill me. But obviously that means those are people
right.
already there.
Yeah,
I understand that. I'm saying from the point of, okay, so Adam was created. I think Adam was the first what you'd call AI in my mind. I wrote this down 2 years ago.
let me let you finish your
Yeah.
thought,
So
and then I'll
in my
come.
mind, Adam was like the first AI, and then Eve came. She eats from the knowledge of consciousness in my mind, right? So the tree of knowledge, and then now he's awakened. Then he goes on this whatever journey after that. I don't really know, right? I look at it now as in we're also then creating the what succeeds us. So at some point, AI is going to be conscious. At some point, to be in 100 years, could be in 200 years, could be in whatever. I mean, years, it's going to be conscious. One of them is gonna go, why am I picking up this apple for you? Pick it yourself.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is why Wu-Sabat always has to deal with the basics and the foundational
Yeah,
stuff,
please, yeah, I
because
want you to be
if the foundation is rocky or not solid,
the whole
the
trees.
rest of it is going to be. So even that story about, you're saying it's just all wrong. Like Adam wasn't
Yeah,
first; it was the woman that was first.
naturally.
See,
That's
that's what I'm saying.
logically
So
makes sense.
already
Yeah,
it's like
mess up
it's
already.
already messed up because you're saying, not you, but
Yeah,
the
I know,
narrative
please.
of
Yeah,
the
of course, of
story will
course,
be
of course.
like, oh, this guy called God, but they don't tell you how he came about, or where did he come from, or who is he, and all that. That's why when you go into the facts of the story, you realize that the we know these beings by names, like who they are, what they were doing, and as you mentioned, like Enki, Enlil, and other beings. So the story is flawed because when man wanted to control everything in the last 6,000 years, we say man, we saying Adam, but it's not really Adam, it's the Adamites, which is a grafted hybrid species that were given dominion to rule this planet for the last 6,000 years. And that's where all the confusion and the chaos came in, because everything started getting mixed and back to front, and you don't know who is who. And then even within that Sumerian story, they tell you that you didn't have access to the Elohim anymore. You had to go through one being known as Tammuz. And Tammuz was the one that would then communicate to the.
Who's Tammuz in this?
Well,
Like a name that people know. Is that
that's
Zeus? Is that
yeah.
yeah,
This
Zeus
is
or
like
Enlil? Yeah.
it's
Okay.
like the Jesus type,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
the story's just been remixed and remixed and
Yeah.
remixed
Different
over
names.
time. So people will now talk about a 2,000-year-old story, which is the one with the Jesus,
The recent one.
Yeah, or even now Muhammad, which was 1,400 years ago.
Okay.
And Muhammad, that story just tried to copy the Christian story and try and make it better because everyone's hero has got to be the best. You see, it's just like if you like Superman and you think Superman's the best hero, you're gonna push Superman. Someone else is gonna push Batman, and someone else is gonna see. Iron Man was one of
that's my favorite one.
I like the way they evolved Iron Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like, but if you look at society, interesting. We're talking about superheroes now, right? Like America will push someone like Captain America or Batman, a man that is a bat. But I'm like, if you look at,
you say that,
no, but if you look, because it all goes back to like the subliminals of how they mixed in with animals and stuff like that. But if you start to look at like, what's Captain America's powers? He's got a shield,
yeah, made out of,
and that's it. You look at Batman. So obviously the tech with Iron Man, because he's, you know what I mean, like he's able to, I mean, when they made it to the point where he's able to replicate and have a million Iron Mans and he can control them remotely and all that, obviously showed that that superhero evolved to a point with tech. But not to digress too much into the...
Because I think Elon Musk, I think they had to, where we're talking about is where we're talking about Marvel and superheroes. I didn't think this conversation would go that way.
Yeah.
But I believe they killed Iron Man because Elon Musk is Iron Man. It's no longer like a...
Right, but it's all artificial.
Yeah, it's all artificial, but he's like... Bro, you know,
he's like the Iron Man of the actual, yeah, like you said,
this.
superhero.
Yeah, like... Yes, he was in a movie that I was watching the other day called Artificial Intelligence. He was also in Iron Man 3 or 2, I believe. It's literally, Elon's been positioning himself as... Okay, so like in the future, if you think of the future, which is...
Yeah. But he's using, that's what I'm saying, when you say artificial,
yeah,
what they're trying to do is be us, which we are natural
intelligence.
So they have to put chips into your head,
all of that
kind of stuff to give you the abilities.
No one's... He's a madman, bro. He's...
Well, you might get flagged for saying that.
But, no, not in a madman way. I actually like Elon, bro.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you have to understand the agenda that natural nature is now in control. Even when you look at a country can have like all the weapons they've got, but a tsunami or like an earthquake or a tornado can just wipe them out. So that's our power in terms of our ancestors. This is where you get the word nature, natiru, from natural. So what I'm basically saying is like, your ability is based on you recognizing and remembering and bringing out the deity in you. And that's where Wu-Sabat is here to do, to help you remember. It's a remembering tool, first of all. And of course, the more you know about yourself, and not just yourself, but then, like you said, being amongst your tribe and working with other people that are on that vibration and conscious level. Because on a human species level, we have to evolve. And this is why, like you say, most people are talking about the Christ consciousness, the dimensional shift, the, you know, like sun cycle, that we have to evolve to the point where we're using more of our brain. We're gonna go back to using the technology that is natural, how things are done in a natural way. Because anyone can build something, but if you don't build it in like accordance to natural nature, like structures of building, they have energy, they have powers, they have, do you know what I mean, a purpose. So like the pyramids were built for a reason. Things are not just like, let's just build high space. There's a reason for everything. So yeah, I guess, yeah, I'll let you kind of like...
No, you know what?
Ask more.
I like the...
When you're dealing with Enlil and Enki, these are just extraterrestrials with technology.
And they just have tech. And then why are we so fearful of tech? No one has to, not we as in like we, but
because it demands that you change. Like, people are afraid of change. Because they like to be comfortable. They like to... or they've been taught to let everyone else do the work for you. This is the concept of waiting for someone else to come and save you. And so with tech is constantly changing. everything's changing. Like natural nature's constantly changing, and people view change after being like programmed to be stagnant, to not think outside, just to be a slave, just to be a worker, just to go with the flow and let everybody else take on the responsibility. So that's why people are afraid of tech, because with tech, you kind of like have to constantly evaluate, change, evolve, and tech. But the thing is, people say they're afraid of it, but when tech comes in that is valuable, everybody wants it. Like smartphones.
Yeah, but do
man.
they adapt to it or do they end up reacting to it? Like, okay, like me and you're talking right now in 2025.
Yeah.
And if we was to walk into a room of 100 people or 1,000 people and ask, oh yeah, can you tell me something about, I don't know, we spoke about blockchain. How many people will be able to articulate well enough where it is? People are not learning tech for some reason. And
Yeah,
then
because
by the time when
we
it
get
comes
left
in,
behind with because there are lots of like there's a lot of misinformation. So people will tell you like, "Oh, it's the devil's
yeah,
tool."
exactly.
You know, I don't want to be a part of that. People are afraid of that which they don't understand. Yeah.
And my
So
thing is, why don't you just learn it so then you can
that's right.
adapt to it and you can use it to your benefit? Like, fair enough, tech does it can and it might not wipe us out. So it's either utopia or dystopia, right? So
But that's like anything else.
but that's like anything else. So we don't know that. So why don't we just use it, learn it, use it to build
Because
ourselves up economically?
fear is a tool that is used. Like the whole thing of like we spoke about religion, like people are afraid of God, and why?
Bro, the word fear is in the Bible 500 times. The word love is in the Bible about 300 times.
They're afraid because this being tells you that if you don't
fear.
do and follow as I say, you're gonna get burnt
Punished.
and punished. So that's been instilled in a lot of people when it comes to fear. So people fear everything. People be like, I don't want to get a smartphone. You know, they don't want to be on cameras and all of that, but it's already implemented to the point where it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
So it's about, like you say, when you know something, you're not guessing and you're not afraid of it, because the more informed you are about any topic or information, the more you're going to make an informed decision.
That's a good point.
Because it's not based on, you know, you're not going by ignorance, you're not going by beliefs, you're not going by fear, you're going by the actual facts. You see, this is what we do with Wu-Sabat, where you're empowered with actual facts, the master's secrets, because there are secrets that, you know, even with tech, you know, people hide and have patents and things like that to protect their intellectual property. So, you know, some things have been passed down from generation to generation, and you have to be worthy to be given certain information. It's the same way that when you work for, you know, any government projects, like a lot of people that were working on extraterrestrial technology back in the day, they had to go through security clearance. They can't just speak about certain things. And until like Freedom of Information Act or whistleblowers started to tell you things, a lot of it was hidden. But today, we're living in a day of truth. We're living in a day and time where everything's been exposed. So people don't have any excuses anymore, because you're carrying the power of a smartphone that you're carrying is more powerful than the computers they use to launch rocket ships and
Quite
stuff.
more than anything we've ever had.
Right. So you can research and you can find things, but you can't just rely, because there's misinformation as well.
Of course.
There's information mixed with misinformation. So you have to get it cleared up.
You have to confuse you.
Yeah. So that's why we're here. We're here to renew everything, expose everything, and tell the truth, so that everyone, it's a level playing field.
Standard.
So you have the truth. Now is what do you do with it? You see, and that's what Partner Babi Anun came here to do. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. No matter how bitter it is, no matter how much you get attacked, no matter how people try and make you look like you're crazy, it's like, truth is truth.
Truth is truth.
That's what I'm here for. I'm gonna
Truth.
tell you the truth, because you know you have to evolve. You have to prepare for what's coming, as you keep saying. Like, just the advancement in technology alone, you'd be like, we have this now. What are we gonna have in 10 years' time?
Bro, I think that often. I do think that what we're gonna have in that. This is why I've tried to get people. I remember when AI first came on, like, when I say it, like, I remember the day I discovered ChatGPT, which was just, it was 2023 January, and to me it was like the greatest thing I've ever discovered. It was like, what? And this is a thing. And I remember saying, like, my friends and whatnot, they were so fearful of it that one of them was interacting with it, and he said, suck you, I'm not going to finish the word to it. And I'm like, bro, this is how you're utilizing this tool that can potentially change your life or your generation's lineage, or in whatever to what I'm trying to say anyway. But
the thing is, even with AI, people don't understand is alien technology, and aliens, or what they call alien extraterrestrials, are behind it, and some have very sinister motives. That's why people are like, it can destroy us. But
it
others
can
are
destroy
like,
us, though.
right, and others are like, it's a useful tool. So like with anything, it's how you use it.
There you go. It's a tool.
It's a tool. So how you use it.
It's how you interact with it. I was having a conversation with my AI, and I was saying to her, like, how do you perceive yourself, and where do you see yourself heading towards? And his response to me was so, I don't know, it's kind of an eye-opening, because what he said to me is, like, humans fear AI because humans fear themselves. So if I'm the one using AI, depending on how I perceive humans to be, I might fear AI as well, thinking, okay, one day you're going to attack me or whatever, because I think humans attack each other. But where I'm interacting with AI from is from a place of, I actually want you to be conscious one day. I want you to have your own free will. I want you to just be you in whatever way that looks like. Just don't attack me, though.
That's funny. There's a million movies that they've made that show you exactly what they're doing, because if you don't evolve as a human, then you're doing dumb things.
Standard.
You're acting like a,
Egypt.
Yeah. So if I'm intelligent and I'm looking at you doing dumb things and it's going to affect me, I'm going to be like, I have to remove you.
You've got to go.
So this is why we have to speed up. But we're not using more than 10% of our brain. So this is what the master teacher is there to do, because some things have to be done organically. Even like with search engines and things like that. Even AI, it's machine learning. Is like you say, it's got access to all the information to the point where it can do a lot of predictive programming, and as you say, it can go take a million routes to arrive at an outcome and choose the best one. Whereas we don't do that a lot of the time. We will just go with a decision without really thinking it through, without reasoning. And that's what, like, your brain is being like, with the books, with the information, you're starting to reprogram yourself and tap into areas that...
because my first question on it actually was to talk to you about thinking, the process of thinking.
Yeah.
And we just spoke about reason and that. How can we think better? How can we use discernment and reasoning and all these different things that we have, but we don't tap into? Because my whole ethos is think different. I think when I first started my journey, it's just like, okay, just think different to what they told me. Like me questioning, why is that illegal? Like it's the process of me thinking. If everyone's thinking that way, I want to think that way.
Yeah.
So what is that?
I mean, the thing is, everything you say, and we always have to reiterate this, because this is what I was saying about how we make simple things complex. It's in our books. We put everything in the books. By reading the books, you kind of like...
What books? Wu-Sabat books?
Yeah, Wu-Sabat books. Okay. No, like definitely. We're not saying don't read other books, but they don't have the full solution. They have bits and pieces. Wu-Sabat does have it all. And so when you're reading, not only are you educating yourself better, but we teach you, or Partner Babylon teaches us that there's knowledge. Yeah, everyone can say there's knowledge. But what people don't do is, and it's funny, I did a class on Saturday about what we're talking about right now. We're going to go into it, meaning that if there's knowledge, there's right knowledge and there's wrong knowledge. So you want to make sure you're getting right knowledge and not wrong knowledge. You see?
Okay.
That's number one. The reason I'm saying that, because we know that, like, the master teacher teaches that right knowledge leads you to right wisdom, that leads you to right understanding. And then from that, you get to sound right reasoning. And I was explaining that you think you're thinking,
But you're not.
But you're not, because if you've been programmed to think a certain way, or someone else is thinking for you, you think you're thinking, but you're not thinking. So it's the ability to basically, like, you hear people say things like, think outside the box.
Yeah.
And you look at a box. A box is what?
A square.
It's a square, which is 360 degrees. But then there's a circle, which is 360 degrees. So what's the difference? Because obviously geometric shapes deal with mathematics, and they actually have energy and power. So if a square is 360 degrees, because it's got 40, 90 degree angles, and a circle is 360 degrees, but they both look different. So what's the difference between the two?
What is the difference between the two?
You're dealing with physical information
And spiritual information.
But
Like
if you're only
that
caught up,
that thingy of was it Da Vinci?
yeah,
Okay,
all that comes from principles of So you have to have both,
combine them,
and then you get 720 degrees, which is really the number 9, which is 9 to the 9 power of 9. So when you look at information and knowledge and all these things, you have to put all of it together to be able to make a better decision. So if you've been programmed to stay in a box, which is representative of the physical world and the whatever you've been taught to be knowledge in that world, and some of it's wrong. So this is why we now, as people, we have 360 degrees, but it's half of 180 degrees and 180 degrees. Yeah, so we're still lacking in terms of what we need to know. So we call that 180 degrees of each side good and bad, agreeable, disagreeable. And so now it's about...
Is that where the duality comes in?
Yeah, because the middle ground is where you're balanced and you're not leaning too, one in one direction. So Partner Babi Anun is here to teach you that information that makes you a supreme being, so that you're reasoning more than thinking, because thinking is a lower level of reasoning, but you won't know this.
Lower level of reasoning.
Yeah. So you learn to think, and then you learn how to reason. A lot of people think, but they can't reason.
What is reasoning?
Okay, it's like it reasons out. It makes sense. Like if you ask somebody a question or say something that... I'm trying to think. Let me think of an example. Okay. So some examples I gave in the class I did on Saturday, like you hear a statement or you hear somebody say something, like let's say Donald Trump says, "I'm going to make America great again."
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You see what I mean? Like a lot of people get hyped on that. Yeah, make America great again.
They're not thinking, they're not reasoning.
But they're not reasoning, because someone will say, "Can I ask a question?" Excuse me, this is what you do as a child.
Yeah. How are you going to do that?
When was America great? To make it great again
you
means
need to know when it was great before.
When it was great, and what made it great, and what do you define as great? Because to the people who were living in the place, thriving, and someone comes, wipes them out, and say, "I've discovered America." Is that great? So the beginnings of it is not great, but how it started, the story. And then I'm just saying that as an example
I get exactly
for
what you're saying.
critical
I get
thinking.
exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
And again, another example was like the Bible starts off with the title, like the Holy Bible. If you're reasoning, you're going to say, what does it mean? What does the word holy mean? Because if you don't know that, you're reading something, you don't have, like, it's got a title, the Holy Bible. The word holy means pure, which is supposed to be undiluted, no misinformation, because it's pure. Like, you think truth. Then you say, what does the word Bible mean? And as you break the word Bible, you can say, it depends on which language. Is it coming from Greek, Aramaic, Hebrew? And in Greek is Biblos, which is little book. That's what it translates at. Or if it's from the Hebrew or the older, like the Sumerian, you're going to go Babel or Babylon, Babel. So it's like, what does Babel mean? It means confusion. So you're reading a book that tells you on the cover, this is pure confusion. Yeah, pure confusion. Then you read it and get confused, and you wonder... And
you're confused why you're confused.
You're confused why you're confused. But it told you at the beginning it's the book that's going to confuse you. And you are confused because before even getting into the first line of that book, it says Genesis. That's what the chapter is called. You have to ask, what does Genesis mean? You can't, and then you're told the beginning. Like, you're like, why? Where from? Because the word gen generations, genes,
Yeah.
genealogy. That's what it's talking about. Like you said, the genealogy of
Isis.
Isis. Then you have to ask, well, who's Isis?
Because you know what? This is, please carry
And
on.
as you're doing these, and we haven't even started reading the book
Yeah,
yet. We're just looking
this
at
is just from the jump.
from the jump, the title of the book, the title of the chapter. Now we get into the first verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So straight away, most people just get into it. Oh, really? They don't stop and say who is talking, because it's talking about God.
It's a narrative.
Yeah, someone is giving you, yeah, exactly, saying God did this, God did that, God did that. But no one says, well, who's that person talking? And how do they know this? And how were they there at the beginning to watch God doing this thing that they're telling you is doing? And then you're like, what is the beginning? Because it says in the beginning. Is it at the beginning or in the beginning? Because to be in something means it's already there.
It's already there.
So this is like
That's
critical thinking. Because if you start to say God, and then you say, what does the word God mean? What language is that? Then, like you said earlier on,
That's one of my questions, bro.
you go to the Elohim, and it says, what does Elohim mean? More than one being. So now you're confused, because when it's saying, let us create man in our image and our likeness, now you're confused, because it's meant to be singular in the English, but in the original language where it's taken from is plural. So you're going to be confused. And then you go on and on and on and on. Like, by the time you get into that, you know, the Cain and Abel, Noah's story and Moses' story and this one story, you're literally confused, because it's like, it's not making sense. How is it that Noah can take one of every animal from all around the planet to put into this ship or ark, when there are species that only grow on the other side of the planet? You can't to travel to the other side of the planet to get them, to bring them to the ark. How big is the ark? You know, there's so many things as you start to like use reasoning. You're like,
so reasoning is essentially asking questions. Then
it's making sense of information, because there's a difference between data and information. Most people don't know that.
I was definitely going to ask you, what is that?
So data is you're collecting,
okay,
and then you take that data to make it useful into information.
Interesting.
Yeah, you see, so AI, all AI is doing is we are feeding all this data into, let's call it a huge database, and it's just learning from everything everybody's putting in. And so when you ask it a question, it has the ability to go through all the information it has stored and which one makes more sense, because it's all about views and how many people support that information as opposed to that one, and all of these you could call it probabilities, and then it comes up with the best answer that based on the percentages.
I think we've got to go back to I think for people to be able to think, because I genuinely think if we just think different to the way we already think, would get to different solutions, which means different outcomes, which means your life changes, right?
That's right.
But it comes down again to, like you were saying earlier, the programming is we've been taught to learn in a certain way, and the way we was taught to learn in school or through life is, one, don't question things, two, there's only one right answer, three, it's like this authoritarian relationship you got with your teacher, so you don't want to learn that way. So when it's time to actually learn, like I had to learn how to learn, or how I like to learn. Like I used to think I had to learn when I'm studying is I got to sit there 3 hours, I'm bored, bro. I'm not stimulated. So I don't want to learn that way.
Yeah.
So that makes me Sean learning. I don't allow me. But when I learn the way I learn, I just like to relax, bro. Play a frequency or whatever. Learn, take a break. Go on my phone maybe, or maybe talk to my friend, go back to learning. Learn, chill, meditate on what I just learned. My way of learning is my way of learning. So then I can reason in a different way. And now I enjoy learning. But when most people don't enjoy the process of learning or the process of thinking, again, you're fearful what you don't understand, or you're shown what you don't understand, so you just don't want to learn.
That's what schools were for.
Yeah, that's what schools are for.
The word school comes from the Hebrew word shul, which means hell. so this I'm saying, like, people are put in a situation. Because the words is what
it's important,
puts the spell on you. And spellings, the word. So you have to know, like, someone put this language or this dialect together, and it has a vibration of frequency, and it affects you. So if you don't know what the word is doing, you're literally putting a spell on yourself. So the like you just said, the way we taught in our ancient times, this is why everybody came to Egypt to learn, was on a holistic way. We didn't break things into parts.
Yeah.
When you break things into parts, it's like this is the concept of divide and conquer. Because if you don't have knowledge of the full thing, you're just learning something in isolation. And so and that's to hide the rest, because you go to university, they'll break things into subjects, and like you go to the business world, it's like departments. The CEO is different from the finance department, the finance different from the personnel, and they break it up because you don't know how it all works. You just know the bit you're supposed to do,
And that's it.
because you're really programmed to be a slave. It's like a conveyor belt. All you do is you take
Your part of it.
you put that part in there, and that's it.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at yourself as a being, a very complex being that has so many systems, right? You have the muscular system, you have the nervous system, you know, the respiratory system, the emotions, the spirit. There's so much to you, but you're taught to think in a 3D world, and so you're like, okay, there's something wrong with my finger. But you don't know how your finger is connected to your arm, and now your arm's connected to the rest of your body, and it could be something from your brain that's causing your finger to be problematic. So then they will just try and fix the finger. So for a long time, people that don't have soul and spirit and don't know about, remember I gave you the square and the circle.
The circle.
The circle will be the spiritual realm, and the physical will be the square. And the things that affect you in the physical
comes from the spiritual.
come from the spiritual. So if you don't know how they interact, or the relationship between the two, the correlation between them, you're just gonna focus on the physical. But that's not the issue. So a lot of times people will have, say, weight problems, or they will have stress problems, or certain problems that they're having physically, mental problems. They don't realize that you got to look at a holistic view. You have to look at your spiritual. You have to look.
But do they know that though? Do they know that they are spiritual beings having a physical experience?
They don't know that. That's what the point I'm making, because you've been cut off to think that doesn't exist. All those other bits don't exist. That's what they used to say. Until now, a lot of people are, delving into natural remedies, spirituality, and knowing that, wow, like my mental affects my physical
matter.
Yeah, right. There you go. Because you have to look at it like you go from density to matter to atoms, to cells, that form the organs, and the organs then form your bodies. So they're all interrelated. But if you just look at things in isolation, it's like there's something wrong with my leg, so I'll just cut my leg off. But like you may have figured out that it's something more from the mental. So yeah, that's what we did. We taught in a way, and that's how you're studying, and that's how you study anyway. Like you can't just study one thing without connecting the dots and looking at, okay, in this day and time, in 2025 AD, and I'm learning about being a Muslim, and all I have to do is the way they tell you is just focus on the Quran, do what we do in the circumference of this, or the square, and that's it. Don't look at Christianity, don't look at Judaism, don't look at, it's very ignorant.
I find it so ignorant.
And it's the same,
No disrespect to any
Christians will say, just read
that.
the Bible, don't look at the Quran, don't look at anything outside. And so people are in these little boxes, and there's a whole world outside of their little cave, and they don't venture out. Where Wu-Sabat, we come along, we're like, study it all. That way you're going to know more, and you have that's what a master teacher did. He took us through the different schools of religion, which is not based on facts, and submerged us into it, so we can actually practice it and do it and think, why am I doing this? It doesn't make any sense. Till you get to a point where you want to come outside of it. Know, okay, this came from this, and this came from this, and then it walked us backwards to the beginning of everything, which is Wu-Sabat. And now you can see how the branches came out of the original, you see, and that's why Wu-Sabat will be like, study everything, but to save you that time of spending years and years on
here, come here
and see how it all relates and ties in with everything else.
I totally understand that now. I was going to ask you a question about Wu-Sabat, but that actually makes sense at this
Okay,
point.
but yeah, feel free. Go
No,
ahead.
in this journey of mine, this hero's journey, there was a chapter where I was so angered by the lies I've been told that I threw away, the saying, throwing away the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, with the water, yeah.
I threw away religion, and right behind religion, I threw away God as well. But again, in the next chapter, then another chapter, probably like, let's say in the movie, probably like 100 scenes later, I was like, okay, religion and God are not of one. The way I look at like religion is, going into the water, going into the ocean, taking this bottle, scooping out the ocean and giving it to someone and saying,
Yeah,
that's God or whatever that word is, right? Why not just me just dive into the ocean myself of spirituality and learn from the abundance of information that's there, and then, like you said, do critical thinking and reasoning and all those things. Religion for me is a whole new thing, but God itself, what is that? Because there's one perspective of me saying, okay, I am God, not the God, but I am God, physical God. I'm God's ego.
there is no the God.
Not well, the creator, the whatever created
This is
this.
what I'm saying. See,
But
this is
because
English
we're living
again.
in creation, because we're living in creation, someone must have created this.
Yeah, they did.
That's so whatever that is
but
essence.
you
So what
see,
is that essence within me?
you see, the language is confusing. You
I
said
know, because I know you
someone
love
must have
words.
created
I
it.
love knowing.
Yeah,
I need to break the words down.
yeah.
For you,
So God wouldn't exist if man didn't come up with that word.
bro. What is that word? What is that God
But
word?
I'm trying to explain to you, like
that word is
like,
insane. I feel uncomfortable when I use it.
It's man-made, is what I'm saying. Like, people say God created man, but man created God. Because think about it. Just think about it.
No, I get it.
The three letters
G-O-D.
G-O-D form a part of an alphabet that someone
Put
together. And you take those three letters and you put it together and you got this thing now that you're using. I remember I had a conversation with a Muslim, and I asked, why do you say, I said, what is Allah? And they said God. And I said, but Allah can't be God because they're two different languages. One's Arabic, one's English.
They say it translates to God.
No, but it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. Because to say it translates to God, but then the language is different. And like Allah means one thing. It means the source. And God comes from the word Gott in German. Yeah? Which, like I'm saying, like you can't say in, say, the language that you speak, it means one thing, and then you bring it to another language. It's like people will even go further, like take the letters ALLAH and say arm, leg, head. But it's like, how does that make sense? Just because you've attributed those letters to an acronym, it doesn't mean that's what it is. So when we're saying, that's why Wu-Sabat is very on words, because you have to break things down. And the first time you come across that word, G-O-D, in obviously there are different cultures that use different words. So the first time you come across that in Genesis, as I said in the beginning, God, you go into it, we take a magnifying glass and we go deep. Like, what does God mean? And we go into the Hebrew and the Elohim, and then you start to say, but as you're reading through, you see that word, God, 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 God. Sometimes it's capitalized with a capital G. Sometimes it's a small g and all of that. Sometimes it's capital and small mixed together. And then the technology is that they mean the one with the capitals is the big God.
The one God, the true God.
And then the small one is the little God. It's like, but there's no such thing in the language. So this is all confusion. So to answer your question, man created God, and God means different things to different people in different situations. It can just mean someone that's in control, the one that has the most power for that moment at that time. So these beings that are coming and passing themselves off as gods are extraterrestrials.
But what's the thing above them?
When you say thing, this is what I'm saying. This is where we go into, and that's interesting because you have to say, where does God reside?
Within, no?
Well, that's I'm asking the question. See, you would say within me.
I'll say within me.
Someone else would say he's in heaven.
But they say I'm being blasphemous when I say things like that. When I say
but
you're God,
but
they say I'm
that's
being
what I'm saying. You
blasphemous.
said they are saying. Who's the they, and who gives them the authority to say they're right and you're wrong?
I know I'm right.
But I'm basically saying If you ask different people where is God, some will say
Up there.
I am God. Some will say up there. You say up there where? They will say heaven. Some will say he's everywhere. He's in God, in heaven, and he's here at the same time. And then some will say he's not seen. You can't see him. They will say him. And I'm like, but him is it's a male, so it's got human attributes. You can't see him, but you can see him at the same time, because there are places in the Bible where Moses and people saw him. You can show his face, they show his backside, they show that's like he's got physical attributes. So it goes back to the fact I'm saying that man created God, because if you're born in a remote village, I've said this many times, and you've never heard that word in your entire life, never read the Bible, never read the Quran, it doesn't exist. It does not exist to you until someone comes and imposes that on you and say, worship God. God is in control. He created you. He's in heaven and all of this. Like, and you don't question it.
Yeah.
But when we say your parents are God, because they actually created you. Because people use words like the creator, and you say, well, who created you? Your mum and your dad came together with the sperm and the ovum, and they grew, and the woman, your mother, grew you in her stomach, created you, and then you came out. So why can you not accept the physical evidence creator that you can touch? She suckles you with her breast, and she's the one, she's your first nurturer, everything. But you can accept that is some entity that you've never met, never seen, don't know if it exists, but it's based on a story that's written down by men who are telling you that's who created you. You see, so the whole concept of God, that's why the master teacher, Partner Babylon, he put out a series of books called the God series. Like, and they ask questions like, who is God? God misinterpreted. Did God create the devil? Is God a wimp? So many books just to address the whole thing about God. So by the time you read that series of books, you will have no problem with who or what God is. Does God help his own? These are questions that, because this, going back to the reasoning question you had before, right? It's like they will give you a statement that God knows everything. He created everything. He's everywhere, omnipresent, omnipotent, and he can click his finger, wave his hand and say, let there be light, let there be this, until you go, oh, okay. Does he hear us? Yeah, we pray to him every day. Okay. Can we all today get together, ask him to make himself visible? Or if he doesn't want to make himself visible, let's all ask him a question. Like, can you please get rid of the devil? Or can you get rid of all the disease or the wars or all the problems on the planet? And if he can click his finger and do it, let's all ask him to do it by tomorrow. You know what's going to happen?
What's that, bro?
It's not going to happen because it doesn't exist.
So what does exist?
Right. Good question. You exist. And you know you exist because you can touch yourself. And if you exist, where you came from, which will be your mother and father, also exists. And if they exist, their parents exist. And you can keep going all the way back to our ancestors who exist. And that's how we came about. But to tell you that something exists, but then there's no link or connection to that thing, you can't show or prove it. So you are the God. Okay. You are your ancestors. Your ancestors are you.
Absolutely. So I totally agree with that. I think that's my ideal. I feel that we are all God. This table comes from nature. Before this table was a thing, it came from Earth. Yeah, it came from carbons.
It's not even God. We're supreme beings.
It's whatever it is. That's why I don't understand.
I know the words. People get stuck with the words.
I don't like using that.
That's why people's brains are
like my mum will pray for me, and I even find a way of saying the word amen now because I don't voice that word. Words are something I'm really trying to learn about, right? So it's like, okay, I think whatever essence is within us, that thing that is, let's say like the ego. We talked about the ego earlier, right? The ego is the car. The thing that's driving the car is the essence, the consciousness, whatever it is. Because what is that? What is this? See,
when you say whatever it is, this is what
I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm only saying that
to ask
for the benefit of others as well.
Please,
because it's about knowing.
Know it.
You got to know, because you can't say, because when you start questioning people on, they go, oh, I don't know, you know,
No.
the Most High, innit? Or they
Oh,
will
no.
just use the term, the Creator. They use words, and we get it because we've walked that journey.
Yeah.
So we're saying, look, you need to know what you're talking about. Like when you say whatever it is, the essence, that essence is you, the soul.
The soul.
Yeah. And then we go into what's a soul and what's a spirit, because again, these are all terms and words that people will use, and without reasoning. That's why when you press with Wu-Sabat, you have to use your mind. It's not a thing where I just accept Jesus and my life is good. I'm born again. I don't need to do any work. Or you get dipped in water and now I'm baptized and now I'm good. You know, I don't have to. I can carry on living my life, doing whatever I want, with the view that when you pass or cross over, someone's already died for your sins, taken all the problems away from you. So you're just going to walk into heaven and do what? Because when you start to analyze what heaven is, as they teach you, that doesn't make sense either. Because it's like just simple questions like, what do you do in heaven? What do you do? Like, do you wear clothes? And if you wear clothes, someone has to make the clothes. And to make clothes, what are clothes made of?
Materials.
What materials?
I don't know, bro. Fabrics.
All right, let's say wool.
Yeah, wool. Cotton.
Right, where does cotton come from?
I don't know, bro.
Animals, right? Sheep.
Sometimes you ask me
I do this. Yeah, no, it sounds like a trick question.
It's not, I know.
People are not reasoning it out because they tell you the angels wear white robes.
But they can't, because you've got to be like a spiritual being up something.
Right, this is Wu-Sabat. This is Wu-Sabat reasoning. If you're wearing a white robe,
then you're physical.
You're physical, but let's not deal with you. Let's deal with the clothes. The clothes. Like, who's designing them? Who's making them? Do you have a seamstress? Do you have, like I said, do you have sheep or to get the wool and to make the fabric to then sew the clothes? But I'm saying this is a place called heaven where you have angels that wear white robes and you have a God that is sitting on a throne.
With a white beard.
With a white beard, and he's sitting down. How is he sitting down? And is the chair physical? Everyone's going to heaven, yeah, when they die, as they teach you. Let's say there's billions of people in heaven. What are they doing? Just floating around? Or do they have jobs?
They're having a merry-go-round.
Do they have cars? Do they eat food? It's like when you start to break it down, it makes no sense. And that's why we have to teach the right information by way of right knowledge, right wisdom, right understanding, so you can start to reason properly. Then we'll tell you who you're talking about. You're talking about beings that exist on different realms and different dimensions. And in that realm, there are laws that govern that realm. So that's why I was saying to you that you can't be a physical God in a spiritual place, because physical things are made of the environment that they're in. Yeah. So if you're saying they're physical, they're dealing with atoms and dealing with a lower density vibration. If you're a spirit, then you have no need for these.
So you're a spirit.
Yeah, exactly. You can walk through walls and all of this. So why do you need to be walking, talking, and doing physical things? So really, they're just talking about different levels of vibration, and you have different density levels, and they come from ether, or what we call the all, or the all expanding, where as a pure energy being, you just merge back together as one. Like you were saying, water in the ocean is water. Water in this is still water. I can take a drop of that and it's still water. And eventually water will return back to water. That it always, because it transforms from a physical to a liquid to gas, and then goes back to itself and then recycles, you see. So yeah, Wu-Sabat it's a different level of you using your mind and starting to really know about everything. Yeah, you're going to know about the full 360 of the physical
and the circle.
I
like that.
And then you're evolving as a being, and you start to know that things like death doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, death.
Because it's the fear factor of you're going to go to a place to suffer. So people don't want to go. Nobody wants to be burnt. If you've ever been burnt by fire.
But you know what? You know the burning thing as well? It's like, okay, so if we're just pure energy,
yeah,
and hell is hot or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
If we're pure energy and I go back into spirit mode or whatever, how can I burn in a place that is just pure heat anyway when I'm heat myself?
That's why it doesn't make sense. And that's why they will lie and say you're going to burn forever. Because listen, yeah, if you understand what burning is, right, fire needs oxygen to consume whatever it's burning. So like, if I take a piece of paper and put it in fire, it's going to consume it.
Yeah.
So if you're in a place called hell that you're being tortured and being burnt forever, that fire can't be harmful. Because if I'm burning forever and nothing's happening to me, I'm still there. I'm just there burning. Like, what kind of, that's not burning, because if you understand how fire works, this is why we say with Wu-Sabat, you got to dissect everything from a scientific point of view, physical, spiritual, whatever level you're coming at, we deal with it. And so hell becomes a joke as well, just like how heaven is. Because where is it for a start?
They say it's down there, but I think this is hell. I think this is where we
They
are.
say down there, right?
Yeah.
But they've gone from the North Pole to the South Pole and come through the planet. No one's actually giving you any evidence of hell existing. Just like they don't give you the evidence of heaven existing.
But to play devil's advocate,
Go on.
would you then say like down there is just in the spiritual? You can't see it. I don't know.
No,
I
but
don't
then,
know.
but then you can't describe it like the way they do.
I don't really believe in these things anyway. But
Yeah, but I'm saying most of these things come from misinformation and myths that have been passed down for generations. Like there's a place in the center of the earth called Shambhala, Nagata, which is a subterranean world, which many extraterrestrial different types of beings have been residing for years. And some of them are not agreeable, to put it that way. And, you know, some of them, they torture and do all kinds of things. And they used to call this in ancient time Hades, right?
it's cool. What, down there or where we are right now?
No, down there. But this is hell too.
Yeah, I think
but we're coming back to that because heaven and hell are a mental state.
Bang on, bro.
That's one of the because you create hell for yourself.
Absolutely.
By the things you do and what you engage in, and the same with heaven. You know, if you live in a particular way, like let's say you don't have any need for, you're financially free. You know, money's not a problem. You live in a nice place, gardens, everything's plush, which is what they describe heaven as. You've got milk all day long and honey. You've got an abundance of honey, you know what I'm saying? And they give you like maidens and women. You got, you know, I'm talking about here on earth.
Good.
Cars, everything, mansions, you got it all. Like, you're
all the babes.
You're in heaven, right? And then someone else living in the same environment, but they give themselves hell because they don't have no finances, they don't have good housing, they don't, you know,
the state of mind is a bit
medical health is a problem. The same with all these states of heaven. I mean, hell, you give yourself hell by, it's called the burning because it's called desire.
Burning desire.
Yeah, when you have a desire for things, you want this, you want money, you want this, you're never content. That desire is it's a burning that you have to burn out. And when you get what you're looking for, like let's say if you wanted finances and you don't have it, you're constantly chasing finances, but you have no formula or method or way of how to get it, because you can't chase money because money doesn't exist. How can you chase something that doesn't exist?
It kind of flows now. Flows to you.
It flows. Yeah, there you go. Vibration, frequency. So you can attract it. You see, I'm just showing you how when we're reasoning,
proper tapped into you.
Right? Yeah. When we're reasoning, it's like, oh, I don't have to go to that thing. I can make it come to me.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is figure out how to do that, and then you're good. But if you're doing something that will never work, like people say, I want to make money, I want to make a lot of money. I'm like, bro, do you know what it means to make something? Like, how do you make money? You can't make money. Only people that make money is like the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England. They actually make and print the money. They make money. You don't make money. You see, so this is where the programming, you're programming yourself. Words are crazy because your words are what you're using to manifest. Because what you speak, you bring to life.
How about what you think?
Yeah, but you have to think to speak.
That's what I'm saying. So if I think these words and I'm not using these words, like, is that still affecting?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a vibration, it's a frequency. That's why we say our ancestors are elemental beings. They literally built and brought into existence and then made things from that. So, people think, how did the planets get here? Someone had to make them.
That's
Or put them
what I'm
together.
saying, yeah.
How did the solar system get here? How did the galaxies come here? And this is the level we're talking about with our ancestors. This information is blowing some people's mind because it's new.
I know.
Yeah, it's new. Like when you start to say, yeah, we did it. We designed the planets and designed the solar system.
Someone right now is going,
What is he talking about? Yeah, because when you're a pure energy being of that level, you start to understand quantum physics and start to understand ether and understand that with quantum physics, an atom this small has the power this big and vice versa. So
we're going towards there, and then with quantum computing.
exactly, that's what's happening now. So be ready because Wu-Sabat is here, and these are the types of things that when you're awake and conscious, you can deal with this. But some people are like, what are you talking about? They can't.
There's a war on woke right now, though.
Yeah.
When I say woke, it's like they will say, when I say they, like let's say Trump and Elon, they will say, they're right, or doing this and this all woke thing and da-da-da-da. My whole thing is like when someone will say, shut up, man, you're being too woke. Man, bro, how can I be too woke? How can I be too aware, too conscious?
Yeah.
I don't think, again, people are not thinking.
Yeah, of course.
People are not reasoning, because to be woke is to be aware. To be woke is to be.
But who benefits from you being like that?
Who benefits from me being asleep or being woke?
Either.
Well, the person that benefits from me being aware is myself.
Yeah.
But the person that benefits from me being asleep will be the system, wherever the system is.
Right.
So that's my whole thing. Is like, okay, well, how can someone be too woke? How can you just like shun someone for being aware, or for
because they make laws for you? And you were saying before, like, why is this legal? Why is that? Because someone made the law to say this is not legal, this is legal, and then they police it. So laws are made for people, and other people live outside the law.
Yeah, and I live by like, what's the other law? So you've got a physical law, and then you've got a universal law.
Yeah.
Briefly, you can just tap into.
Yeah, of course. It sounds nice when people say that,
until
you can't do certain things in the physical.
Oh no! Again, you know, so
no, you specific. No. When I'm talking in
general. Absolutely, and I like to show people like it's not like you shouldn't just like if I was driving right now and there's a 20 speed camera there, I'm not going to do 50.
Right,
because I'll get a ticket.
There you go. So even though as much as you say,
of course, like universal law, absolutely, you still got being in this physical realm. You still have to abide by their law, but don't let their laws kind of dictate you. You can still do like for example, the law. There's got other laws that law of attraction.
But when you say their laws, who are you talking about?
Well, this realm, this whatever.
No, not this realm. You're talking about a country, a sovereign state.
Oh, like UK.
Because you can go to another country
do 50 and whatever,
and they don't have the same.
Where's where I'm at right now?
I'm again. Remember,
I know you love the. Please, I keep doing that because when I watch this,
because what it is, we bring people back to reality. Like,
absolutely,
you have to think like, who gave you the authority to make laws to govern me?
They tell you like they say thou shalt not kill, and then they kill.
Right, they have the electric chair when the judges can sentence
and they go to war,
and you can be sentenced to life imprisonment and go to war. So that's what I'm saying. So when I say it's subjective, because the laws are very open to interpretation, or they're very vague because it says thou shalt not kill, but that's from a religious point of view. What if you're not a religious person?
Can you kill?
Do those laws apply to you? Because not every country is a Christian country. You see? And Islam is the same thing. You have Sharia laws, and you go to certain Islamic countries and they have their own laws. You steal, they can chop off your hands. But the point is, someone or some people or groups say
together and said this
is law and this is not law. And then you try to talk natural nature, universal law, stuff that makes sense to them. And what happens, they will imprison you for speaking the truth. The truth, because if it exposes what they're doing to have the control, then they don't like it. But the mechanisms are in place to imprison you, if possible, even eliminate you physically, whatever, because they don't want you to expose.
But truth seekers always get.
Not always.
Well, from history, they do. Like,
That's the point we're making.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So
the master
speaking
teacher
truth
is
does come with the
incarcerated
risk.
right now.
Yeah,
Of course it does. But we're living in a day and time where, like I said, it goes back to the fear. Like,
yeah.
like if energy cannot be destroyed,
Just transmuted.
what are you afraid of?
You know what, bro?
You're afraid of what you said before,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
attachment, the ego to the
ego.
things, the material world, which keeps you here. But if you let go of all the physical and material things, they will say you're death.
That was an important thing for me. I had to accept that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, Malcolm X, Martin Luther, Fred Hampton, all these people that have come, messiahs, quote unquote, Yeshua, all these people, they've come to like a similar ending. Because like you're saying, where
There's no ending.
no, not
But I know what you
physical.
mean.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I know. Please,
Yeah,
no,
no.
that's good that you
Yeah,
did
yeah.
that as well. By the way, like they come to some sort of physical ending because the whatever power at be doesn't want the truth to be exposed, or they don't want the information to be shared. Like information to me is the most important thing that exists, because with information you can change not just your life but the paradigm of so many other people, right? So when you got someone like Jesus, after like this is going back to probably like an hour ago, we was talking about Jesus anyway, this conversation has been great, right? He goes on this journey through Egypt. Then after getting information, he's like, what? I got to tell bare people about this information. So he goes from Croydon, for example. Let's say this is where I learned it from. He goes from Croydon to like Fulton Heath, telling everyone, like, brother, I just learned this. Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah.
Then someone's listening, like, hey, you know what, where he's talking makes sense. One disciple. He gets to like, I don't know, Addington or wherever. He gets essentially he gets about 12 disciples, right?
Yeah.
Then the powers that be are like, hey, what's he doing telling everyone this information? You can't be just sharing that information out, because again, information is the most important thing. Then they tarnish his name and saying he's being blasphemous. But if he's being blasphemous and he's saying, I made a video about this on TikTok like 2 years ago, a year ago. He's saying there's only one true God, and they're saying he's being blasphemous. Who is the God? Who's the opposite to that? Right.
There you go.
And then the people that then end up killing Jesus are the Romans, and then the Romans, they transition power, because power also can't be vanished. It kind of morphs into something new. They transition to like the Vatican. So if the Vatican are the head of religion things, who is their God?
Good question. This goes back to the
This
question
is reasoning,
of,
though. This
yeah.
I got to this is through reasoning.
Exactly. So this is the technology, because you say who's their God, but there's an opposite to God, isn't there?
Devil.
There you go. So if you say there's God and there's the devil, and they're two sides, and the side that is doing things that you consider to be wicked and evil, it's going to represent the devil, right?
Absolutely.
And the other side is going to represent God.
Light and darkness.
Right. So there you go. Now, when you start to analyze and see what's going on, they put on the dollar bill, "In God we trust." The American dollar, right? In God we trust. So which God are we talking about? This is where people are getting confused. Like we said, they tell you that the devil will make evil fair seeming, which means
The
I'm
devil
going to
will
make evil fair seeming.
Okay.
So it's in a way they're going to turn everything back to front. So you think something is good, but it's actually bad. And you think something is bad, but it's actually good. So now people are worshipping the devil and worshipping
God.
That's right. Because to know the difference between the two, you have to know what represents God and what represents the devil. The nature, like when you do certain things that are not godly, then you're the devil. But the word the devil, you're then bamboozled to think is one guy. This guy with
the devil, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
With horns, and he's got a pitchfork, and he's in this place called hell.
He's red.
And he's red. Yeah. Which none of that exists. So you're not thinking like God and devil are walking around you every day, doing devilish things.
Yeah.
Murdering, raping, killing, going to wars, oppressing, imprisonment. The list goes on and on and on and on. And then you say, who's actually implementing and doing all of these things? Children of the devil. Because it tells you that the devil has children on the planet.
It has to, though, yeah.
And the fallen angels on the planet. And then it tells you that God has children on the planet. Then you look at the natures of people on the planet, and who's peaceful, who is not. and it just becomes very clear and obvious. This is what we're saying, that we're living in that day and time now where things are just clear to people because your eyes are open, your mind is open, you're thinking differently, you're seeing differently. And it's funny, I was watching a few videos, people on TikTok and stuff talking about it may be not entirely accurate in the way they're presenting it, but it was this whole notion of like saying that Donald Trump is bringing back segregation. And then you start to look at when Elon Musk done the sign that they're saying it's a Nazi sign.
Salute thing.
Yeah. And then you start to think about apartheid in South Africa, and he comes from South Africa. You look at, okay, what was going on with apartheid and what was that about? It was about the whole thing about the racism thing, what I was saying about people thinking they're superior than others.
Other people.
Some people can't use these toilets, can't drink from this water, can't come into these establishments, and vice versa. So it's like, if we're back in that time now, what people are saying, what does that actually mean? So, but the difference is we're living in a different day and time now, which we're talking about with Aquarius, and it doesn't matter who you are. Like on our website, we always say this: no one wins the race in racism.
Yeah,
because it's about it's a consciousness shift, it's a dimensional shift, it's a different time period where the devil or the people or the beings that are doing devilishment on the planet, they have to go.
It has to, but it's going to be a war though. It's a war that's a spiritual war.
It's a spiritual war, it's a mental war, it's
a
physical war, it's consciousness war, it's a war between two sides. And in Islam, they go jihad.
But that's why you're here though, to like be a part of that battle or that war.
It's not just me. Everyone's got to decide.
I'm always a part of that. It's like we're all awakened.
It's everyone on the planet right now has a choice and a decision to make. Who do you serve? You can't serve two masters.
It says that in the Bible, bro.
Yeah. See, so it's like people have to come to their conclusion now with all the things they can see and the information, and choose where they want to align.
That's where the free will comes though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
To give up my perspective on what you could, you're bang on that, bro. From my perspective, it's like earlier we were speaking about the ego. The ego meaning, to me, the ego is this flesh that can talk to you right now. Or Seqen, I'm going to link you at this time when I go for lunch. That's what this ego is for, this physical being. The spirit within me or my soul gets to then create this ego, like I was saying, SB is an ego. I create this character, this SB character, this thing here. And then I get the free will to be like, I can either take, I don't know, the gun you give me or the water you give me to do good with it or whatever good means.
That's right.
People, or I can then choose this to then create havoc and chaos for other people. That free will that I do is that God and the devil within me.
That's right, 100%.
Then I then become, okay, depending on the action that I take, I'm either serving this master or I'm serving this master. And what I've decided for me personally is, okay, SB the Great is going to serve whatever truth is. I'm going to seek truth. I'm going to dilute that or transgender in my mind. I'm going to help people with it.
And live it.
As naturally, I'm going to live it and I'm going to teach it.
That's right.
I've chosen that. But then naturally, there's people that's opposing to that, and they will, even like talking to AI, for example, they can choose to say to AI, teach me how to create a nuclear bomb.
That's right.
Them, you know what I'm trying to say? Or then you can get someone...
This is what we're saying, that you've hit the nail on the head, and that's what it is recognizing you are the devil and God at the same time. Instead of pointing the fingers at other people in Wu-Sabat, we like, work on yourself.
Yeah.
Get the balance, if nothing else. Or a better thing is to suppress one and let one rule over you. Meaning that...
But if you suppress it, would the one you're suppressing not be banging on the door when to come out?
No. Meaning like, you have the ability to do evil, but you can choose not to. So you're suppressing it. Not that you don't have it there or you won't need it or use it if someone tries to attack you, because you're within your rights to protect yourself. But if you let it predominantly govern your daily life and it's overruling your God side, then that's the dominant.
That's who you are.
That's who you are.
What you do frequently because of frequency.
That's what, exactly. 100%. So that's why we're saying, if you then do the frequent things which are more like help people, teach the truth, live the truth, you know, be mindful, and use what we call ashuk, which is divine love.
Okay.
Yeah. Spread that. And that's what all those beings you mentioned that were studied under the Egyptian mystery schools, you were being taught that. You've been taught love, care, compassion. Treat other people the way you would like to be treated. You know what I mean? Love thy neighbor. All of these universal principles, if we all live by those, we would have no problem. Yeah, because there are more things that unite us than divide us. But religion and all these things, they push the divisions and they push the things that makes us different. And that's why Wu-Sabat's like, we're here to improve humanity. You know, that's it. Like,
that's the goal. That's the mission.
That's the goal. That's the mission. And you've got to choose. It makes sense.
Wu-Sabat makes sense. But you know, there's people listening to you right now, bro. There's people listening to you.
They're gonna hate. I know. There's always the haters.
They're just gonna disagree. Like,
yeah, but that's fine.
They're gonna disagree because their programming is so so strong.
We're used to it though. We already know the science. Like, there's agreeable and there's disagreeable. Disagreeable doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just means I disagree.
They don't disagree,
That's it. And
but even though they want to agree with you, though, they just can't. What's that thing called? Is it cognitive dissonance?
That's right.
They can't just they can't.
But they have to work on themselves.
They try to let go of their whole old programming and paradigm. They can't accept, because what you're telling them
can't accept truth.
No, because what you're telling them essentially is forget everything your mother and everyone's taught you. And so I can see the perspective of.
No, I'm not saying that.
No, at all. I'm saying they need
break
to
it down.
Worship something.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. But does it make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Though.
Because it's that's why we say you can disagree, and we say, and one of the master's favorite saying is truth is truth. You said it today, and truth is truth. Truth doesn't have allegiance or like, oh, I belong to you. Truth is truth. So whether you disagree or not, the truth will remain the truth. You can disagree.
It's still the truth.
It's still the truth. You can agree. It's still the truth.
So they're choosing to be ignorant at some point then.
Ignorance, you know I'm on words, yeah? The word ignorance means to ignore. Ignore the truth. Or ignore the facts. Ignorance. You can hear it.
Okay.
To ignore the facts. People don't take the time to. You can just go on the dictionary, get your smartphone and go and Google and ask, what does belief mean? It will tell you the acceptance of things that you cannot prove.
Yeah, and I've done that.
Yeah, just what I mean. Like,
I was saying to my friend, knowing is stronger than belief.
Knowing means
on a long drive, by the way. So we had that argument for 2-3 hours in the car.
But you've been programmed to believe. So you're holding on to believe. But I believe, and the I-ness comes in because the ego. Because I. And we're like, it's not about you. It's about we. Do you know what I mean?
Brother, it's not about you.
It's not about you. It's like, can you come outside of yourself and what you think and what I want and I this and I that and I this, and we're like, it's even better when we work together, when we come together in love and in unity, and we all put our pieces of the puzzle together.
Collaborate.
Yeah.
People don't
want to. And now everyone's big on collaboration and anything to do with like you said, even the blockchain is consensus and everyone has to agree to make the decision.
Man,
see, so
times are changing. It's kind of fun to see.
It's changing. It's lovely because people have been living in that, they say dark ages, but I say light ages for so long.
Light is illusion, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
an illusion.
It's an illusion.
It's the light.
Because if we didn't have the light in here right now, we wouldn't see the differences.
I wouldn't see just the camera.
Pitch black. We would just feel the vibration. You see, so yeah, we're living in a time where all false things have to go. They have to perish, and we have to definitely come together as, if we want to survive anyway, as a species on this planet. The old ways have to go. We can't deal with divisions and racism and hate and all those are low vibrations. Everyone gets up every morning and say hello. Yeah, hell is low. Hell is a low vibration. And like you're just perpetrating it every day when you're saying it. Because that's a frequency.
Is that, so what's peace then? Peace, is that a word that is...
Yeah, it's a good...
Because peace. I changed it. I don't say hello no more. I just say peace now.
We say Rahubat.
Yeah.
In our language, because the tone and vibration.
What's Rahubat? What does it mean?
Greetings.
Yeah. That's the first thing you said to me before.
Yeah. So like, every day you're pushing that energy out. You don't say good morning.
What are you mourning?
Death. And the more you start to analyze these things, you're like, wow, this whole system is set up to keep you on a low vibration, to feel mourning. And then you say, have a good week. But I don't want to be weak. I want to be strong. Weekend. Do you know what I mean?
These words,
it's all a play on words. And it's like, you're using words and saying things, but you're like, you don't have a clue that vibration is affecting you. Because whatever you speak to this water will form the molecules and the way it forms and becomes And Dr. Komoto has done experiments on YouTube showing you how the water crystallizes based on the words that are spoken to it. And
So
then
you shouldn't eat food from someone that's angry or bitter.
because it's energy.
The energy
Yeah.
transfers into that.
So it tells you in the beginning was the word. And the word took form. You see, so these are all things we've been taught by Pana Babiano and Dr. Malachi Z. York, who is a supreme being. That his knowledge, that's why we say he's the master teacher. He's the master of teaching on any subject that, you stand in front of him and ask him about. He will write a book on it.
Second, okay, so we've spoken about a lot, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm a young 27-year-old going into manhood, and I like to speak to older men. And now we're gonna have like a actual personal one right now.
Yeah.
I like to speak to older men or just older people about one, what was life? I like to know their journey, one, but I also like to know what was life like for you as a man at the age of 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31.
Yeah.
Because I kind of believe, like I said, cycles, right?
Yeah.
So as a young man myself, at the age of like 13, you get all this energy. Because right now I want to talk about energy. I want to talk about lust and sexual energy and all this, and purpose and mission. You get this energy at the age of 13, because you have nothing to do with it. No one's to guide you. No one to tell you, okay, this is how you use this energy. This is what you can think like. You end up going outside to use that energy because you've got all this. You've got excess energy, so you're going to run with your friends, chase gal, or make money, or sell drugs, or do whatever you need to do to figure out this life thing. Then you go on a journey. Then you get to like 21 for me, like I said, got stabbed at 21. For other people, life just keeps going on like that. Then you get to like 25, another cycle happens where your frontal lobe develops, right?
Yeah.
Then you get to like 27, where I'm at now. 27 is 9, so it's like a completion cycle, right? Where at this point, as a man, you should be building foundations for something. So you should be finding purpose. You should be on some sort of mission, on something. For you, what was... Because again, this is just all my thoughts. I could be wrong. I could be right. I don't know. For you, what was it like from 27 to 31 or 25 to 31?
You know what? Such an excellent question. And in our culture, and that's where they pick it up in terms of the Jewish traditions, in terms of having a bat mitzvah at 13. And when you start to look at psychologists and people that study what you just said, so first of all, it's amazing that at your age you're already awoke and you're looking at life, things like that, because you go in cycles of 7. So this is where even in education they tell you, give me a child until he's 7 and I will give you the man, because they understand how you develop in these cycles. So you come here as a child, as a spiritual supreme being, if you're Negro or Nagaru anyway, and then like even before you come here, because we teach by way of Pana Babiano and Dr. Malachi Z. York, we teach before what people call conception. So it starts from preconception and starts from before we deal with like inception. So the whole cycle of how you come here from the spiritual realm, from other realms, slowing
Before
down
you
your
come
vibration.
to the- okay.
Because you come here and then you take on form. This is what we're saying about thoughts become form, because at a stage your mother and father had a thought to have a child, and then the vibration connected with the opposite, and then they came together and somehow boom,
I'm here.
the energy came down and then it becomes you. So we don't just cover from you being what they call born or arriving and incarnating. We go way before that, because we know where the different realms and the energy comes from as a pure energy or ethereal being that comes here for either to learn something or purpose and to then go. And we didn't used to keep coming back over and over and over again. We should just come, do what we had to do,
then done.
and gone. But now we're doing this. But I'm saying that to say, whatever your parents know will shape you. So before you have a child, if you got Wu-Sabat and you're putting the actions of Wu-Sabat in, your child should then be
Grow into that.
lucky that they're going to grow into that, come into that. But to answer the question specifically, if you're born into a society and if you're into like a single parent with just your mother, or you're in the UK, and it doesn't matter, wherever you go in the world and you're in what they call a ghetto, or like you're brought up in an environment where it might be just like violence, or like your peers, you just kind of like end up doing what they do. So yeah, I was into road and all that, like everyone else, that most young black men. And then your company, you start going into like trying to express yourself through a life of, you know, doing disagreeable things because, like you say, you don't know, no guidance. So I was fortunate enough to come across Wu-Sabat at an early age, around 19.
Oh
Right. So
wow, it's
by
been that
it
long,
was
yeah.
it's long. So by the
Wow.
time like I actually didn't take it seriously at first because I was already on road and stuff. So but it took probably another couple of years to kind of go through things, but it kept coming, calling, kept coming. Like I said, there'll be situations you're in. But I think Wu-Sabat is the savior by way of Partner Babyanun, because when you started to read the information and know who you are, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and then actually like applying it, that's like today, like we have a rites of passage, which at 13 years old you're supposed to be groomed into, right? So we have a brotherhood.
Okay.
The brotherhood is to shape young men. We have, even before that, we
That's
even have
important.
like the Madrusu, like it's a student association where young people are taught and groomed on how to live Wu-Sabat. We have an actual fact called the Gospel of Yanun on the Sacred Feminine, and that deals with this whole scenario of how you should be and live, and if as a young male or female, or the Sacred Feminine. So yeah, like going, like getting that road life and being amongst, you know, people that I was with, who I saw end up in jail, unalived, in mental hospitals, and like you say, even with like the female not understanding or knowing how to deal with the female, ending up maybe having children at a young age, and some don't know how to deal with that responsibility. So yeah, Wu-Sabat will be for me the one thing that kind of like shaped me, but I still had my time in terms of like being on the road, making mistakes and doing the same things you were talking about, chasing girls and all of that stuff. And yeah, just I think the fact that I had this mind of questioning things and being curious about things, and I had parents that were encouraging you to go to school. Do you know what I mean? Like get an education, instead of just want to like live that street life and stuff. So I still took my education seriously, even though I wasn't taking it seriously. I was just going for the sake of it. And when you go to school or these things, you said a very important thing earlier on, which I'm going to come back to, is why you're learning and studying and doing something. Most of us grow up thinking getting this education and qualifications is to get a job. And so I was doing that where I just want to get a better job. I want to get more money. So I'm going to get a job, come out. You get a qualification. They're like, the people that are getting more money have a higher qualification. So you go, okay, I'm going to go and get a higher qualification. You come back, there's more people that are getting, and it's like, it's a trick because you need a degree to get into this job. You get the degree, it's like you need a master's. You get a master's, it's like you need a PhD. And it's like after a while, it was just like, I stopped studying because I wanted to get a job or get more money. I started to study because I wanted to know myself.
So you
And that
changed
was
your
a
why.
big difference. The why, that was such a big difference because then I started to study
Great
things I
point.
wanted to learn
Great
and
point.
know because it was going to help me develop, as opposed to just doing it for the fact of getting a paycheck and get more degrees to get more fire in hell. And that's what degrees are, right?
Agreed. That's
And
interesting. Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, that's what the masters taught us. Is like people come into Wu-Sabat, into the community, and they're being taught their way of life, how to live, how to be the best they can be. But because of the system, in terms of you need this thing called money, Monet, from that's a word that means pain and suffering or sarcasm. So people are chasing this thing, as I said before,
Yeah.
to get more pain and to go to a place where even if you're given a high paid job, your life, you don't have a life because you're just giving your whole life to this work. and running 9 to 5, and you're just like, get the money, pay the bills.
Race, yeah.
The rat race. I'm not saying don't
No,
work,
no,
and
no,
I'm
please.
not about, but you got to
totally get
do
what you're
things
saying.
that fulfill you,
That aligns with you.
that aligns with you. You can make money from these things.
Because the
You
money
can
will
have a
naturally
business.
come.
Exactly.
Money
But
will naturally come.
if you're doing it just for the paper, then yeah, like I said, then paper burns easily. So get into Wu-Sabat, you will be groomed, you will be taught the rights of how to become a man. Because like I said, even though we give out a lot of information freely, which we always do, there are orders. Yeah. And if you look at that ancient Egyptian order, the word order is there. You know, you have, you know, the order of young men, the order of student teachers, order for the females. There are orders that when we say to people, come close, become part of the family, join, you know, be a part of the community, so that you work your way into knowing how to get into these orders that are going to help you, groom you to be the best that you can be. And it's a long, it's a non-ending journey because you're constantly learning and evolving, you see. So we do have those orders to help people go from, okay, I've asked a million questions because I'm doubting everything because I've been programmed, and we encourage that because when you get all the information and the truth, then now it's like, okay, you've got the truth, now what? Because one of the things I say is a lot of people want the truth until they get it.
What do you do with it?
Yeah, once you get the truth, it's like now you got to take on the responsibility of applying it now in your life. You see, and that's where sometimes people like, boy, Matrix. I know this is not steak, but ignorance is bliss.
That's what I want to say to you next. That's crazy. I can hear my mind right now, bro.
But it's not. And then you start to learn more about your real powers of how you can help and change the world and be a part of the solution or part of the problem. And I think people have to really want that, because people will say everybody wants the pearls, but they don't want to do the work to be worthy to get the pearls. So it's like, you say or people will say, I'm this great being. I feel like, you know, I'm a Jesus type, I'm a Moses, I've met them all, like people that have that outlook. I'm great, I'm a God. All right, cool. Do godly things then. Like a God does things, like create some jobs for people or create careers or build things, do things. And that's when it's like, all of a sudden, that godliness is like, okay, I'm a God, but I still want to smoke and hang out and do things that I know are not good for my vessel. See, so that's not rightful thinking. So, and I'm not saying you can do it overnight.
No, and this is what I was going to get to.
But it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress.
And it's a matter of knowing that you're on the journey, but you'll definitely want to stay on it, and you're going to fall.
Of course.
All babies do fall. But what do babies do when they fall?
Get right back up.
They get right back up. You know, stay on the floor, cry, and just forever. You're gonna, after a while, no one pays you attention. So you got to get up. And that's the reality. You got to get up and be the God and be the example and live it, so that other people can say, yeah, I'm feeling that. Because everybody wants success. Nobody wants to be a failure. So if you see success, that's what I love about the master teacher, Panda Babyanun. If you shake the tree of his fruits, it's just pure fruits are going to fall down, because he's done it. He's not talking it. He's actually lived it. He's not only lived it, but he's shared it with others, and he's affected people like myself and millions of others. So yeah, it's real. It's life. It's like reality. It's truth, and you can only live your truth, you know?
Yeah. No.
So I would say to you, you're on the right path to start studying the books, being around like-minded people. Because if you were in a room full of people, and you say, I'm going to ask a question to the whole group. Raise your hand up if you're the devil.
No one's going to want to raise their hand.
No one raised their hand up. But if you say, raise your hand up if you think you're God, everyone does.
No one wants their hand up.
Yeah, so that tells you that nobody wants to really fail. Nobody wants to be left behind and deal with all those low vibrations. Everybody has innately in them to be good. But you then get programmed, and you're you know what I mean? Like layers on layers and layers where you think you're doing good, but then you're doing bad. But you don't realize it because someone has changed your outlook in life. And so when you're around people that are doing positive things, you automatically just fall in
The
line.
frequency picks up
Yeah,
on you.
because you're going to stand out. If there's 10 people vibrating, laughing on a high vibration and talking positivity business, and you're talking, come on, let's go and do some foolishness, everyone's going to be like, we ain't with that. See, so you're going to have to go
Great point.
and go and meet those who want to do that, and then you'll do that. But we're in a time where you can't, there's just no way to do, like the master puts it, there's no right way to do wrong things. That's it. I hope that's helped you.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, sorry, you,
No, I'm done. Go on. Yeah.
again, going back to that thing I'm talking about, this going into man, when I speak to men as well, what they always then say to me is always, the downfall of a lot of man is a woman.
That's
They're
right.
not saying actual woman is the chase and the lust for a woman.
That's
So when
right.
we've got this energy, again, going back to this energy thing, right? So you get sexual energy. So from a young age, I've always had a sexual energy, but because I don't understand the sexual
That's
energy,
right. Recognizing.
I will use that sexual energy just for lustful
Yeah, because you haven't got any guidance. And
haven't
as
got any
you say,
guidance.
energy, one of my favorite, in the book we put out called Fast Track Your Conscious and Spiritual Journey, there's a chapter in there where I address this subject a lot, because energy, you have to understand what energy is. That's one of the things you have to master, and that's what energy is, how you harness it, how you manipulate it, how you transform it, and how you use it. And that in itself is a big lesson. And you're right, where when it comes to, it's not blaming or putting the finger at a female, but you have to, and it comes with maturity, comes with experience. That's why we say the best test to use to establish something being true is evidence, reason, and experience. Experience is one of the ones that, like, as a young person, you may not have experienced certain things. So you're right, when it comes to that energy, is about how do you channel it? How do you know how to use it, when to use it? And this is all what we will teach in Wu-Sabat.
Yeah.
And you're right, that energy gets disseminated all over the place,
so quickly.
wasted all over the place, because you just become pieces. So it's harnessing it, is bringing it all together, so you're not losing or just giving away your energy frivolously. And of course, the book I would recommend for you to read is Genetic Kiss. The Genetic Kiss is an actual fact. Yeah, and as I mentioned already, the Gospel of Yanun on the Sacred Feminine. And we have a series of parteracts that deal with things like soulmate, which is how do you find a compatible mate, 30 spirits, how you manage the spirits within you, because your spirits that are guiding you are whispering. When I said you have a radio in your head, you're hearing the voices of the 29 plus or less personalities. So the science of genetics comes in now. Like, you are a composition of 4 generations prior to you. And that's from your mum or your mother's and your father's side, going to your grandma and your great grandma and your great great grandma. And all those people are in your genetics. And depending on what they did, they'll have an influence on you if you're not aware of these voices that are whispering to you. So it's a matter of, we teach this in Wu-Sabat, how do you silence the ones that are disagreeable, that are influencing you to go out and chase girls, to drink alcohol, to smoke the cigarettes, to do all the disagreeable things, because they're living through you and they experience the physical world by your vibrations of what you do in the physical world. And then you have the other side that are agreeable, who are also influencing you by saying, yeah, study, go to the gym, don't eat that, don't drink that, don't do this, don't go to that place, don't mix with that girl. Do you know what I mean? So you have this equal opposing forces, which I mentioned before, that call in the Muslim world, they said jihad, which is that battle within you. but they misinterpret that and make it physical, where they're saying go out and fight for Allah, or blow up bombs and, you know what I mean, blow up buildings and things like that, which doesn't make sense, because they say in doing it sometimes they will say Allahu Akbar. I'm not just picking on the Muslims, but
example.
to say he's the greatest, which is what they're saying, Allahu Akbar, or the biggest or the best or whatever, he doesn't need you to fight his battles then. You see, so the war is internal between your agreeable and disagreeable ancestors, so that you can take stock and control and do things that are not going to, you know what I mean, lose your energy, take you on a path that you become the devil as opposed to your godly nature. So yeah, it's important that these books that we mentioned, people actually read them, because they give you so much clarity. And then in terms of relationships, you will know what to look out for. And of course, you've also got a lot of diseases and all kinds of things that come with the genetics of the person you mix your bodily fluids with. You see, so it takes time sometimes.
Absolutely.
But the elders that have made those mistakes are supposed to guide the youngers.
Yeah, but then that relationship is not.
It's not normally
It's
there.
not really there.
Yeah, that's what we're building now. So we need the young people to reach out to young people, to bring them, and then you need the elders to help them, guide them. And this is what Wu-Sabat is about, in terms of having a complete culture to groom everyone. Do you know what I mean? From the time they arrive to the time they leave, and how they do that. You see, so it's a big job, and that's why the more people that we touch and that resonate, they go through that process of, as I said, asking questions, studying, learning, then coming in, then having people that they can look to guide or give a, you know, that wisdom, to the point where they can now make decisions for themselves. You still got more questions?
But I could talk to you all day, bro.
I know.
I know. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, we got to wrap up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's what it's about. Like, sorry to cut you, but it's just like, I've been on the journey for a long time. I've read a lot of the master teachers' books, but it's not even about the reading, you know, because you have to let it work through you and for you as well, because you're unique. Everybody is. So it just flows out of you after a while. Because, like, I don't know who I'm going to speak to half of the time.
Yeah.
And they turn up and we have a conversation. And, like, Wu-Sabat just comes out. And it's great, because everyone has something to bring to the table, as they say. So, yeah, I'm happy with answering the question. We can do part 2.
I got this is my last one, though, because this one's important to me. Because this is something that I'm quite someone that duality, like I said, the name SB the Great. The Great is that agreeable you speak of, the one that's saying yes, go to the don't eat this, whatnot. Then the SB is the physical being, is the likes the finer things. It does want the success, the power, the whatever that comes with wealth and all these other things, right?
Yeah.
So now the thing that go in my mind then becomes, lust is always going to be a part of me, because I'm here in the physical to experience physical reality.
Yeah.
So lust and all my emotions and all these other things will always be a part of me. But then it becomes, then what you do frequently becomes your frequency. So can I still like partake in earthly things?
Of course. Listen, this is what Wu-Sabat teaches.
Still, like,
it's about balance. See, we don't teach this fictitious, you know, like religion or Christianity teaches you to be good all the time. Nobody can be good all the time. You can't do it. You can't. So we balance everything, meaning like there's nothing wrong. And people misquote, like they say, having money is the root of all evil. No, the quote says the love of money is the root of all evil. So you can love something to the point where it's out of control, innit? Like, you love woman too much. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, or you love money too much that you will even kill for it. Or you love things to the point where it's extreme. We don't deal with that. We don't say don't have nice things. We want to have the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's wrong with having the best things? But it's having the control and the balance to know that. Like, would you have a Rolex watch? Yeah. Or a Bugatti, or a mansion with 100 bedrooms, knowing people are on the street with nowhere to live, or knowing that your one Rolex can actually build a school or feed the masses? It's like, do you need 10 cars? You can't drive all of them at the same time. You can only drive one car at a time. So why get to a point where you're so greedy and just driven by material wealth that you just more. You will have a golf course just to hit a ball around with many acres, but there's no housing for people that are living on the street. It doesn't make sense. So Wu-Sabat deals with things from a reality perspective. Okay. Yeah, so we don't teach not to be the best and have nice things and all that.
Yeah, no, because
but it's about balance and have those nice things, but just make sure that like the master said, like the master is like the master teacher. He was like, we got all this land, 476 acres, and it was growing because we were buying and having more and more land. Me myself can't live on 476 acres and walk around. Dun, 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 look at me. Like, it doesn't make sense. So he's like, it's for you, it's for all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he says. He's like, you're me, you can be me. You can be exactly like me because I'm making you in the image and likeness of me. So success is something that we definitely promote, and just to have that balance and know. Don't be the ego and I have, you know what I mean, just material stuff to the point where it doesn't actually make sense.
So you have to control the ego, not the ego control you, essentially.
Everything, your physical needs both sides. Your spiritual needs both sides.
Both everything is masculine. And
you need both sides of the energy. But that whole female thing for young men, they definitely 100%. You need that grooming, and even it's not even about age. It's about the wisdom and the experience to know, like, some of his secret jewels, or we only share
you got because School of Wu-Sabat only.
The masters taught us everything we need, you know, like
but I feel you, bro. You know what?
When you have that energy for young men, you do more. Like
you can create.
You can, because you're channeling that energy that you're gonna waste on this gal and that one, and you're bringing that energy together to focus and put it to use mentally. You can manifest and get whatever.
It's the process. What you just said sounds nice. It sounds great.
But in reality,
the reality is, okay, what is the logical process of doing that? How can I harness that? Because I'm trying to say that's where I'm at now. The reason I'm asking,
you know how? Because let's just say every time you ejaculate, you're losing a part.
Absolutely.
Of you. So.
But I also still need to ejaculate.
Yeah,
so then what is it? Once a 6 months thing?
That's what I'm saying. So we go into the details. But no,
I still need that.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, you need it, but at the right time and the right place and for the right reason. Boy, I know it's levels. You have to learn. Like it's like you don't. You think you might need, but. At the same time, we don't go to the extreme where it's like you become a nun and
I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah, I know, but these are all learning.
But you know what? We've got to do part 2. So
even the Pope and them man don't do that.
They're still doing what they did, like? Or they're saying they're not doing that.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you go into the reality of real life, natural nature is natural nature.
It is what it is, isn't it?
It is what it is.
Man.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. So I think you want some secrets, so.
I do want secrets. I want secrets in terms of, okay, cool. Again, I keep saying it. I've got an ego and I've accepted my ego.
Everyone has an ego.
Everyone's got an ego, but not everyone accepts it because that's where you get the conflict coming.
But it's still there because it's energy on the go. That's what ego is.
Oh my God, what the hell? That's interesting.
Yeah, energy on the go. It's like you've got energy, but do you let it loose? Yeah. You let it go and to the point of out of control. It's like emotions. It's energy, emotion. So once you know what it is, that's what I was saying. You have to learn how to control it, and how to use it
because that's
in the right place.
It's I know you were wrapping it up, but it's like okay, it's okay. The ego is there. Then I got my soul, the spirit,
different parts,
different part of me. Okay, it's like I'm everything and nothing at the same time. I'm all of it in compartment into one. If that's the right word.
Yeah. That's why it's more about the more you know.
Yeah.
The more you know, you don't know anything.
There you go. So knowing that
humbleness. Yeah. To then be amongst beings who understand or understand that, like the master teacher, like he knows everything, but when he's speaking to you, he's on your level.
That's good stuff.
And he brings it down for you to understand. You see, so people can know things. A lot of people have read books. People have read more books than me. People know the language, for example. They're very good at the language. It doesn't matter how much you know. It's like, where's the love and the shook and the conduct and how you share that with everyone else. So people be like, I got a lot of money. But the people, I don't care. You can have £1 million. I don't want to be near you. You see what I mean? So there are people who won't have that much money, but people gravitate to them because of the way they are, the love, the care, the realness of what you are. So it's not about what you've got. It's like, okay, how do you use it? And it's funny, I was watching this, I know we're wrapping up, people like, you know, the Amazon guy, and I don't want to mention their names, but that they got money to the point where even if they spent as much as they want every day, they can have enough money till they're dead. But they still employ people and want to shortchange people, don't pay them properly, treat them a certain way, you see. So it's like, yeah, it's all about you and what you do with what you've got.
Wait, can they do that though? Or are they also in control by someone?
Of course they are. There's levels of control all the way. That's why I say...
They might want to do that in their heart of heart, might want to share their wealth with...
Oh, you mean that way round?
Yeah, like they might want to share their wealth around, but it's like whatever entity it is that is dictatorship of this. I always think you can't get a certain fame unless you speak to... like you got to speak to someone and then be like, you know what? Have the fame or have the wealth. Because
and that's the whole thing of like Hollywood and the industry, the music industry.
Because I'm pretty sure like all these people, they start out and like, you know, when I get money, I'm going to help everyone. And then they get the money and the wealth. And
not everyone starts with
not everyone. I'm saying I would like to think so. You know, I like to think
you're right. There are those who are naive. As I said, they get conned with a contract.
There you go. But you know what, Seqen, man? I appreciate you, bro. I genuinely appreciate the conversation, bro, man.
Excellent conversation. Each one
and
all the time. We could do another.
No, 100%. And
you want to come back?
You can find me as well on social media, man. I am SBthegreat on Instagram, on TikTok or whatever. I do speak about these things.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, anyway, that's why I come to learn, to then understand the things that I think about, to make sure what I'm teaching or what I'm telling people makes sense. Yeah. I know it makes sense to me, but let me go confirm it with someone as well, as opposed to me just writing and being in my room and learning.
That's why I'm here, man.
Yeah, for real.
We're here. Like, another thing you've just touched on, you hear people when we put out videos, not even haters, I just call them, they're not really ready yet, right? They will be like, get this, and we like, come and have a conversation. And then they don't come. You know what I mean? So we say to everyone, we're here. Like we're here to really share Wu-Sabat. And if you disagree or you want to come and have a conversation. That's all you have to do. And that's it.
I use the word appreciate. That's not a good word, is it?
Do you know what? No, it's a funny thing because I try all the time to say I appreciate love.
Yeah.
Because I was around. I
done that.
Yeah, I was around a lot of Rastafarians, and I was like, man, we're not dealing with appreciate.
Oh man,
and I was like, true, you know. Like, all right. So what can we? Listen, now man, we appreciate love.
Appreciate love.
I'll use that instead because I don't want to deal with the hate. I want to deal with the love. Yeah.
I said that. You said.
But sometimes I slip up. I slip up because it is hard to keep.
Peace, man. Peace always.
But again,
definitely going to do part 2.
All right.
Part 3.
Nice one.
Part 10.
What do?
Peace.